Peace, everybody. What's up? It's your brother, Mr. Holipsism, with you on a Sunday afternoon. I got my brother Dotta with me.
Ooh. What's up? What's up?
All righty. Sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulties. Peace. What's up, Richard Victor Dixon? What's up, Deontay Ford? What's up, Mr. Cat? Peace, Bell Thanos. Peace, John Thomas. And everybody else coming in right now. The title of today's show is Mind Your Business, the courses and lesson plans of nationhood. And my brother, Minister Dawud, is responsible for the titles and the description. So let me read it. Class in Succession, Building the Curriculum for Our Nation. That's basically what this show is about. And I wanted Dotta to give maybe an explanation for why we came up with this show, so you let the people know.
Okay. All right. So what we all know that everybody has their profession and everybody is in a certain part of the BAIO as far as like STEM. That could be mechanical engineering and so on and so forth, healthcare. But within that profession, we want to actually start training others so we can actually start building our nation a little stronger instead of waiting on others to actually do it for us. So with the knowledge that we have, we can do low level training within our own nation with the degrees and stuff that we already have. So building a curriculum for that or training or lesson plan for that is very easy. But it's just, you got to know the process and how effectively we're going to apply that process. So that's pretty much in a nutshell, what we're trying to do here.
Now, you know me, I'm going to ask what I usually do is to explain it to me like I'm 5 years old. Because most people don't know the process and most people don't know how easy it is.
Right.
So what does it entail initially to start a curriculum? Or what is the process for that?
All right. Believe it or not, what we're doing right now is a part of the process. So the part of the process is analyzing what we're trying to do. So that is gathering. We're trying to develop something to put out to the people and start training the people. So we have to figure out who we're going to train, who's a subject matter expert, what field it is going to be in, what are the types of resources we have to use, and what kind of learning constraints that exist already. So we are already in the process of doing that without us even knowing. And then what kind of skill set or what's the education level of that person. So like some people think that they can't contribute to the BAIO or within that field. They are wrong because it's all about the skill level that you have and the learning level that you have already. We all know that most of us can read, most of us can write, most of us can do basic math. So we don't have to go in and address that already because we already know that. That's already a knowledge already. That's already a skill that you already have. Now what you just got to do is apply what we're trying to train you guys in. So for instance, I'm a heavy equipment operator. I'm a developer, trainer, and I'm an instructor. So I would take somebody that already know how to read, write, and know the basics, and I would teach them how to do this in my field, starting from scratch. As far as not start from scratch, as far as learning how to read and learn how to do math, but just knowing the basic. What is a ditch? What is a V ditch? What is erosion? You know what I'm saying? So that kind of stuff is what we're trying to do here.
And I would imagine that we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel with a lot of this stuff.
Nope.
Because there's already, I would imagine, existing curriculums for the professions that we're talking about.
Yep.
So all we would have to do basically is use that as a template and put our own individual spin on it.
Exactly.
Nice.
That's all we got to do.
Oh, Peace, she, that militant Black Buddha, the longest YouTube screen name ever. Peace, sis. Peace, Dave. What? Dave East. And who else came in? I think that's it. Who came in?
I think you have
So,
ODOS screen on the main screen right now.
yeah, I don't know how because he's muted. Let me see if
Yeah.
he's ready to come in. Hold on. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Da, da.
There you go. It changed.
Ah, what is it now? Let's see.
It just went back to ODOS.
What's the deal?
No.
I was just trying to unmute him. Then that came up. How about now?
No, it's still the same. There you go. It just changed.
Oh, okay. I know what it is. I know what it is. In Google Hangouts, if you click on a person's name, it'll do their particular screen
Oh,
thing. So
okay.
when I was trying to unmute him, I think
Oh,
he's
okay.
muted. I think he's muted himself because I can't even unmute him. So I guess he's going to
Yeah.
come in when he's ready.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'll be in a second. I'm listening though, so go ahead. I'm just getting this. I'm getting this dinner started.
Okay, no problem. When you're ready, just come in.
My
All right. So I guess
bad,
actually
Bell.
we're there now, right?
Yeah, you there right now.
Okay. That's one of my friends made that new
Yeah,
image for
that's
me.
what's up.
I was like, oh, that's kind of hot. Let me put that as my profile.
Signature.
Yeah. So well, let's deal, since you're on the phone, let's deal with your industry.
Okay.
What would we need to get that started? Like to get, or well, first tell us what would we start? Like what would be the curriculum that you envision?
So, like I stated before, I would go over the basics with them as far as terminology, definition, and just to get a basic knowledge of what we're about to do or what the curriculum is about or the training is about. So, for instance, when you're creating a lesson, when you're creating a lesson or a curriculum, now those two things are different now. So let's not get confused with that. So a curriculum is a set of training or lessons within that scope. So like say for instance, Belle, she's in healthcare, right? But she does a specific thing. Within that scope, she learned so many modules within her domain. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So she started out with the basics and then she moved up. So just
Right.
on, like for me, I started out with the basic. Okay, what is erosion control? What is earth moving? What is grubbing? What is geography? All that basic stuff. Once they get a grasp of that, then we move on to the second module, which would probably be, which is the introduction to uh, let me see. I'm trying to think of something simple. Freaking landscaping or introduction to can't even get my train of thought right. Land survey. I'm sorry. So we'll go on and then you just build on that.
Now, when you talk about is that me?
Nah, that's ODOS.
Oh, that's
What's up? Doing
Your
what? What am I doing?
background. Your background.
Okay. Okay. Hold on.
Oh, okay, that was him. All right.
Yeah.
Would building foundations be a part of the basics, or is that something more
Yeah.
advanced?
No, that's part of the basics. Like I said, depending on like what part of of the module you're talking about. So like I said, everything would start out with the knowledge. You got it's three domains of learning. There's three domains of learning. You have your knowledge, your cognitive, and you have your psychomotor, and then there's assessment, not assessment, ascertainment. So effective. I'm sorry. So those are 3 domains that you have. So you want to, before they even get to operate anything or do anything physically, they have to know what that thing is about. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, that's very important that you understand when you're creating something that you have to, the person that you're trying to train knows what they're about to get into. So I can't tell you to go over here and get on that piece of equipment and you don't know what it is about or what it, the functions of it or what its capabilities and stuff like that. So that's the cognitive part of that. But the psychomotor part is me telling you after you learn everything I told you, now you go ahead and go out there and you do the same thing I just told you. Or you could do it even on the basic thing. The basic cognitive is you still have your psychomotor in that. So if I tell you identify the 3 types of terrain, before I had to teach you the 3 types of terrain before you can identify it, right?
Right.
So you're applying one to the other. So you have to have one. It's like we always say, don't put the cart before the horse.
Right.
So it's like one of those things. Yeah.
Bell asked me to ask you to explain the ADDIE model.
The ADDIE model. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the ADDIE model, which is the most commonly used process to create curriculum, that's the ADDIE process. So it's 5 steps to the ADDIE process. It's analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. Like I said, we already started analyzing our stuff already. We already know that we need to train some of these people, train the people within our nation, right? So now we have to find the subject matter expert, so on and so forth. Things that we're going to use to actually start training. And then you're going to go in and you're going to design that. Only thing you're going to do is for the design process, you are actually designing, okay, it's kind of like creating a template for your actual development process.
Mm-hmm.
So that process there, I mean, you can get real in depth with it, but sometimes it goes real. It depends on the level, should I say, the educational level.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So we're just trying to do, just the lower level training, so we don't have to get into the collegiate part of it. So like where I will come in as far as being an construction manager, that will be on a whole different level. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we're just starting here with the basics. Hey, you need to know this, this, and this, and then we're gonna get out here and we're gonna operate this machine. That's the lower level. That's still all part of the ADDIE process. Like I said, there's 5 of them.
Now, I'm assuming, and I don't like doing that, but I'm assuming that when we talk about these curriculums,
Mm-hmm.
are we talking about just in general or a specific age group?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, like I said, there's levels to it.
Mm-hmm.
The lower level, and like I said, the analysis part deals with that, and you have to identify your target audience. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to deal with, young kids, you're going to try to give it to them on a level that they will understand it. So you wouldn't give them college words or college definitions or something that an adult would do. So there's the 2 learning domains too. Actually, not 2 learning domains, but there's 2 types of training that you can give someone. You got andragogy and then the pedagogy. I don't know if y'all know those. So the pedagogy is pretty much it's like a child,
Mm-hmm.
and the andragogy is an adult learning process. So most adults don't want to be taught how to freaking do math all over again because they already know this stuff. So you just come in and you just interact. So like with the pedagogy, you're going to sit the kids down and you're going to say, hey, this is letter 1. This is number 2. This is number 3, number 4. You know what I'm saying? You're teaching them the basics. They don't know. You're telling them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the adult model is you're not telling them. You're just helping them to apply what you're teaching them.
Now, the reason why I ask that, because I would imagine in the beginning stages of this, we have a group in the BAIO called the Skills Dozers,
Mm-hmm.
where it's basically blue collar workers, construction, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine that those people in that group initially will be the ones developing the curriculum.
Right. Yeah. You will have. Yeah. It's most of it. Most of it is your subject matter expert or this person that is. It's like you can actually come up with it yourself. You say, "Hey, we need to like the STEM. Like, hey, we need to build a curriculum for the STEM." You might be the person who initiated, but you're gonna go get them subject matter experts to actually talk about it. Kind of like how you're doing now. Like, I don't know this about this, but I want what's the name to elaborate more on that, and and then they'll put something together like, hey, how would we apply this? But as long as you know the ADDIE process, I mean, there's other adaptations to that, the ADDIE process, but we just use the basic right here. So
right. And Odos just sent. He mentioned the Kawiko. I guess this is more for kids because I'm looking at the website. Kawiko company, and I guess it's inspiring kids through hands-on work.
Right. Yeah, like I said, when they built this model, it's like they built this model is they use a basic. So what they do is they take this model and they started making, they tweak it to how they want to push out their information or stuff like that, or how they want to attack, or not say attack, but to address whatever issues that they have in their learning. It's just like every college, they do the same thing. College process, it's the same thing. So yeah.
Peace to Silent Killer. Peace to Information Man Show. Peace to iTuber 012. Thank you guys for coming in. You know what? I'm thinking about, and it's so funny. It makes me think about why are we just now doing this? As a you know what I'm saying? As a culture,
Right.
as a collective, are we that brilliant that we came up with something that nobody else has thought of for like 80 freaking years?
No.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why nobody ever came up with the concept. If you want something done, shouldn't you get people together that know how to do it and just do it?
Yeah.
Because that's basically what you're talking about. You're saying like you have people in specific professions. Why can't we create our own curriculums? Why can't we create our own lesson plans and our own structures and things like that? There's nothing standing in our way from doing it.
Nope. But the thing about that is most people in those fields that are ahead, they want to keep that so that they are the only go-to person. So this is what, kind of mindset that we have. So this is why I said, this is why I'm trying to figure out, why do we have the Black Caucus and why do we have all these other Black stuff when we're not actually pushing that information out? Like you're telling me that, and I ain't trying to bash because I know some good fraternities and sororities, but you're telling me you got all this knowledge here, you're going through this process, but you're not actually going back and creating something to actually give out. Everybody's looking for something right now. Like me, I'm always happy to pass this information down because I think it's very useful for us. Like, it's just like, your dad or like my dad taught me how to freaking lay bricks and mortar and roofing and carpentry. He taught me the basics, but I was complaining back then, but shit, I'm like, damn, I'm glad he taught me that. It's the same process. He gave me the basics and now I built on that. So,
and maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think you're alone. I think that there's other people just like you that want to do the same thing. I think that the biggest problem is the avenues and venues for us to connect with those people. I think that's the biggest issue. Because it took a while for you to really even discover who we were, right? Like it wasn't like we were just readily available. Like there had to been some circle that you got into where you found out about the BAIO.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest problem. It's like the people who are just like you, who probably were thinking the same thing. Like, damn, is there anybody doing anything?
Yeah. You know what? And it's funny you say that because I think I kind of like fallen in the same boat as you guys. As y'all tried it, but I was like, nah, that's not it. And then you keep searching, you looking, because I'm like a loner. I was like a loner. I thought I was a loner until I found you guys.
Right.
I was like, man, I know this. I'm not going out there. I got to work.
Right.
But we need to do something. I like to build, but I'm like, nah, that's not it. So I was like, well, let me try to go find something, go to Africa, because I'm on my African kick. I'm like, okay. Then I ran into Dynast, and then Dynast I ran into you guys. I'm like, BAIO, what are you talking about? That sounds familiar. Sound like something that so it's kind of like that's kind of how I came into this.
Yeah.
But I know I wanted to share, and then when I was like, hey, we creating this so we can pass this information down and work together, and I'm like, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's just shocking to me that and I guess it's, in a way, I understand why, because I know the environment that we are, the stew that we're swimming in, so to speak, I'm very familiar with. And I understand why certain people get turned off. Like I said, I know people that used to be really pro Black empowerment, and now they can't even drink black coffee. Like, they don't even like wearing black. I understand. I totally get it, because it's so much virtue signaling and right, self-righteousness and judgmental behavior going on. It's like everybody's afraid to step out and do or say anything because they don't want to be attacked.
Right.
And it's only but like a few people like who will step out and just say, listen, I'm going to say whatever I have to say and fuck it, whatever you feel, whatever, but most people ain't really like that. Like, most people don't want to deal with being judged or to deal with being ridiculed and mocked and all this other stuff, especially when you're not understood.
Right.
So that's why I always felt the concept of meeting people of like mind was always the best thing, because it's like fuel. Like, when I speak to you and I speak to Odos and I speak to Minister and Bell, it's like you guys are like my gasoline station. Because I go, like, you deal with people all day. Like, I think it was either you or Odos that was talking about this. No, it was you. You were saying that you were speaking to somebody about nationhood, and they was looking at you like you was Ghidra, the three-headed monster.
Oh, I think that was probably Ollie
Oh, it
Odos.
must have been. Yeah, it must have been Oda.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, what? And then you can only deal with that, but for so long before you need some fuel. You need to be around people that can see and understand what you're saying and see things from your point of view, so it makes you feel like you're not freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Ali's back. What's up?
Yeah. I'm listening. I'm being educated, man.
That was you who said that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you talk to a lot of our people about this stuff, because the group I'm in Denver, and these are African people, and for the most part, they can kind of vibe with you. But it's when I try to introduce them to the BAIO is when they really begin to look at me kind of cockeyed, because they want to do good for Africa, but at the same time they want to be American. And I find a conflict with that, because and to some degree we're going to have to do for Africa while being American until we move over there physically. We're gonna kind of have to operate in that realm. But I think just the lack of self-belief in ourselves, and just the white man's ice is colder, is the reason why we look at each other. We'll look at a black person who comes up with a childhood curriculum for black students, try to nationalize knowledge, and we'll get a cockeyed look from other black people, simply because our leadership and our religious training, it compels us to want to continue to try to give America the benefit of the doubt, and to integrate with people who really don't have our best interests at heart. And we see it as bad if we nationalize knowledge and we educate our children to act in the interest of black people, as opposed to going to work and get a job, because that's our motivation. That's why that Minister Dawud alluded to the fraternities, and You know, how come no one's thought of this? Well, that's why, is because our motivations are to get out away from the hood and to get away from black people and to be accepted and to go work for corporations. We're not educated to create jobs. We're educated to qualify for jobs.
Yep.
And so we're not motivated to develop curriculums because our leadership directs us in the way that we should integrate with people and that we should love everybody and try to get along with everybody. Multiculturalism has become our banner, and that's why it's taken so long to really develop a curriculum that I guess would encourage black children to not only take that knowledge and absorb it and apply it to their life, but to compete with other kids. And I think that has to be at the heart of our curriculum, is that it's okay to compete with other people because other people are competing with you. It's okay to want to have an IBM. It's okay to want to be a black Elon Musk and compete with Elon Musk. You know, I think we would rather work for Elon Musk than be the next Elon Musk, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense because you're living in a culture right now where it's not about black empowerment. You know, it's not about controlling anything. Like I was on a thread in a YouTube video. I forget which one it was. I think it was the Kevin Hart interview when he was talking about the whole Cat Williams situation. I was in the comment section, and black guy in the comment section said, "I'm for black empowerment, but I'm not for black supremacy." And I asked him, "What the fuck is black supremacy? Could you please explain to me what that is?" Like, are you saying, like, is the fact that you want to control your social, economic, and political environment, that makes you a black supremacist? I said, well, if that's the case, then you're against the Chinese then, right? You're against anybody who has their own nation. You're against that. Or are you only against it when we want to have our own?
But we're taught to think against ourselves. You gotta remember that. We unwittingly do it.
Yeah.
You know, black people having their own storefronts and owning an entire, strip mall, that is black supremacy. So to teach a black child from scratch, whether it be construction, telecom, whether it just be to homeschool your black child, that is black supremacy, because our role that the world is trying to put us in is to get along with everybody, while it's okay for everyone to discriminate against us. So to make that's why I pointed to that Kiwi code thing, is because we need something like that for black children specifically. If you're gonna homeschool and you're gonna insist on educating your own children, you need an education program that applies specifically to your children. I think hands-on learning applies to black children so well. If you read Amos Wilson's Developing the Natural Genius of the Black Child, he talks about that. Our children, and if you look at the data and all that, it's true. Our children are born with somewhat of a head start. So why not have hands-on programs and all of that we use even after school? Or, you can open up a church and have workshops and stuff, but that's another level of organization. But, why can't we develop something like that for black children? I've never understood why we see it as so bad as to nationalize our knowledge. The Japanese do it, the Jews do it, every ethnic group does it but us. So,
well, we can't even agree that we're African. So it makes it difficult to organize. That's why that's one of the reasons why I totally understand the frustration of our people. I get it. That's why I don't get on them and beat them up, because I know, first of all, we out here on our own ass. No, there's no support system in place.
None.
We're trying to develop the support system. That's what we're doing here. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't exist in any tangible, concrete way in our current society for black people. So then on top of that, you don't create a support system, but then you're creating this so-called black code that you're trying to enforce. And if you don't live by this black code, then you're a sellout. And I'm the one who constantly says this. What are you selling out?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You haven't created anything. There's nothing in existence. There's nothing tangible and concrete that you've created. So then what does the term sellout actually mean?
Yeah.
Because what are you selling out? Oh, because you decided that you was going to go and agree with white people verbally when the person who's telling you that you're a sellout is working for white people. So I'm kind of confused.
Yeah.
I'm confused. You're both working. You're both dealing with white people. It's just that he's dealing with them consciously and saying, "Yeah, I've picked a side." You're dealing with them because you ain't got shit of your own. So it's just like we have to get past this vague and abstract concept of blackness, and we have to form something tangible and concrete. And I believe that that's what we're doing. The only sad part is take this. What's happening today is a perfect example. You're on the phone with us, right? But what else are you doing? You're doing things in your house because you got to do that for your family.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the dilemma that we have. It's like we're doing this shit in our fucking spare time when you have people that's calling themselves leaders and representatives that's not even thinking about the stuff that we're talking about. We're trying
Well,
to
why would
develop
they?
a curriculum. Yeah, we're trying to develop a curriculum amongst the people, the professionals that we're trying to get together. But you have people who have access to these professionals and don't do
Mm-hmm.
shit.
So, hey, I'm gonna jump in real quick, Double Dutch, and I'm glad you said that. So,
Mm-hmm.
most people will ask, well, what is the purpose of this show? And that's still part of a process of a curriculum. So the purpose of the show is to design and form BAIO members of basic strategies, skills, and techniques essential for facilitating competency-based learning programs within their profession.
Right.
How easy is that? You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
You're getting something, and this is the purpose of it. We're actually building a lesson right here. What do we learn? What are the takeaways? What are the outcomes? What are the outcomes that are going to come out of this show right here? And see, a lot of people don't really get that, but most people will want to argue, hey, what the hell, y'all guys ain't talking about shit. Actually, we're actually trying to build something so we can go back. We can actually come back into the archive and say, hey, you know what? We missed this right here. Let's go ahead and adapt. So you always got to revisit what you're doing. And this is why I like this right here. So go ahead.
Well, another thing is, and I'm glad I'm going to piggyback off of that because I put on my page the number one characteristic of a fraud. And the number one characteristic of a fraud is when they'll only tell you what they're against and they never tell you what they're for. If you listen to everybody that has a complaint with Holip, anybody got a complaint with Dawud, anybody got a complaint with Kala or the BAIO or whatever, what you will hear is them trashing us, but you'll never hear them offering a solution. If you're saying that what we're saying is complete and utter bullshit, that having a nation of our own is bullshit, having socioeconomic and political control over your reality is bullshit, then give us your alternate solution.
Well, that's the point, though.
You know what you're going to get?
Oh, good.
You know what you're going to get, right?
Crickets.
Exactly.
Well, we're not conditioned to think that way, though, Holip. That's what you got to understand. That's the importance of establishing a curriculum and the theme of the curriculum. Because at the heart of what we do has to be nationalism, and it has to be clear nationalism. Because our education, even growing up, black people and white people sit in the same classroom for 12 years and are educated entirely differently from each other. Because when the white kid goes to school, find that we're all being educated in this country under the psychology of the middle class white child. So when the white child goes to school, this is what they're learning is what I call plug and play education, because they're just going in to assume the power that their people already have and build upon it. Meanwhile, black people, we go in there and since our leadership has emphasized fitting in and loving so much, We're going in there to qualify and to prove to white people we're just as qualified and smart and human as you. So in that, what's lost upon us is a sense of self-sufficiency and a sense of solving our problems, because even in going in and making all A's and making the honor roll, we're still educating ourselves toward contributionism, which means we're not looking to solve a problem, because our leadership has decided that people standing over us and controlling our communities and being in charge of our lives is not a problem. They see the problem as their attitudes towards us. So that's the problem we try to solve. We don't see white racism as a problem in the sense that we need to challenge it. We see it as a problem as we need to change it. So black people are always educated in a fashion of reform instead of a fashion of change, in a fashion of self-sufficiency. It's almost as if put the American white psychology at the center of our universe. So it's kind of like having a degrading girlfriend all the time, where she tells you you're too fat, so you get a gym membership, and next thing you know, she doesn't like the way your hair is, so you change your hair. We don't understand that if we fashion our education around white psychology, we're always gonna be wrong, because the white ego depends upon us being wrong. And so we're always gonna be compelled to educate ourselves to change the white mind towards us, as opposed to saying, fuck the white mind. This is the way we're going to educate our people, because these are our problems, and we're going to solve these problems. And I that's my 2 cents on it as to why we need our own curriculum.
Right. And we know some things that they teach us is like going one ear and right out the other one, because half that shit doesn't even apply to us. Like, I know I'm not going to go out there and do this shit. And I know I'm not going to use this every day. And then, most of the experience that we are learning, as far as educational wise, is about the white experience. It's not the black experience. We're just here. We're coming along for the ride. It's like that one, that officer that takes all the credit for the stuff that the people on the ground is doing. It's kind of like that.
Exactly.
So we're doing all the hard work and all this good stuff. And you already know how Black history is. All the good stuff that we created, but yet we can't even identify with it, because it's not even in our hands. We're not benefiting from it. So guess what? They're gonna let us know that, hey, you can create some stuff. Come work for me, because I got everything. But I'm gonna take credit for it, but you can work up under me, and then you'll be the first person to do this in 2019 going forward.
Yeah. Did you see that movie with Mos Def when he was playing the first black man to do open heart surgery?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a perfect example of what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Hidden Figures is another one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another example. You have all these brilliant black minds doing all this brilliant, innovative stuff, and yet you got a white face taking credit for it.
And then, when are we gonna actually take our stuff and say, you know what? Okay, I appreciate that, but we're gonna create our own curriculum and stuff. And it shouldn't have to be based off of your belief or your ideologies or anything like that. Like, we are trying to build a nation of intelligent people, from kids to adults. I shouldn't have to go there and try to, if I'm not a Democrat, I can't get this benefit right here, or I gotta make so much money in order for me to be a part of this program. That's crazy. How do we live in a society like that?
And you know what else is funny? It's like black people who's ignorant and white people who stay ignorant is going to make the same conclusion that if black people get power, the first thing we're going to do is start killing up white people. That's where this whole black supremacy bullshit is coming from. Because see what that is and it's like you're trying to place yourself at the center of my universe no matter what. It's like my brother made this comment about women. He said that he doesn't pay attention to what a woman says. He only pays attention to what they respond to. And that has withstood the test of time. The test of time. Because people always say anything. They'll talk and say anything. But what you got to pay attention to is what do they respond to? And one of the things I noticed that white people, if you want to really have white people concerned, you have to have that type of mentality where you're not thinking about them.
Yeah.
You got to let them know it's about me. It ain't about you. Nationhood, and I made a video about this before. I said, nationhood, who is nationhood for? Is nationhood for us to show the white man that we just as good as him and we could fuck him? Nationhood should be for us and for our children and our seeds and our offsprings for the future. Why are we thinking about white people?
Wasting too much energy on that.
We don't allow these people to become the center of our fucking universe where everything is about them. Even when we make progress, it's like we thinking, I wonder what those white people gonna think now. I don't give a fuck about white people. I don't sit back in my day worried about white people and, oh man, is this white man hungry today? I don't give a fuck about whether you eating or not.
Well, how do we make a curriculum where white people aren't at the center of it? Even if you have a white person teaching them, black kids aren't looking to try to impress them. They're just looking to pass the test before them, and they're looking to gain more knowledge. How do we establish a youthful curriculum? Because I guess that's where that has to start. Because it's not that I have no hope for black adults. It's just with the children, being that what we're doing is nation building, and the children will be the future, and who we're going to kick the rock down, and we're going to have to entrust them to win the victory for us. How do we take white people out of the center of our universe?
I can tell you where it's not going to happen. I can answer that question. And another thing is, if you're going to give your children something, you have to give them something for them to take the baton and run with. We haven't done that.
That's true.
We haven't given them anything. You give them a nation to run with. I have total and complete confidence in our people. I know you can call it black supremacy, whatever the hell you want to call it. I know that when left alone and when we have our breasts and our brightest, we're going to outshine everybody else. That's just the way it is. That's the way it's always been.
Right.
So that's why my whole thing is centered around we have to create the context for our reality. We have to have complete social, economic, and political control over our environment. We have to control the policy on the land that we live on. And my thing is, as a black man, how are you going to call yourself a man and you're not thinking about having power? Then what the fuck are you? And then not only that, maybe I can kind of forgive you if you're not thinking about having power. But what's your excuse when you fight against a black man who wants to have power?
Yeah, that's sad.
That's even like you a bitch squared.
To the third power?
Yeah. Your bitchdom is increasing exponentially like the Hulk's strength when he gets angry. Like that's what type of bitch you are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm like, most of the battles that I've had, like I said, and this is, people don't believe me, but it's the truth. The hardest battles that I've had in terms of nationhood has been with people of supposedly conscious, cultural conscious, Africa this, Africa that, Africa for Africans who don't like Africa. They got Africa. They got all Africa all up in their name brand. They wearing Africa on their chest. But when you talk about going to Africa, whoa, what nigga? We can't go to no Africa. What's wrong with you? I said, what you rocking Africa for? Why you keep pushing this shit if you don't even believe in it?
Right. It's like they kind of like I want to say contradicting themselves as far as, or It's the damn, I'm trying to think of the word. But anyway,
you
you know
said
how
it.
we
That's
say,
it.
yeah. So you know how like we say like, oh, white people want to be black, but they don't want to experience the black. It's just like black people want to be of Africa, but they don't want to go to Africa. Like that don't even make sense.
Yeah, you want nationhood, but you don't want nationhood.
Right.
You want us to behave like, and I love those people too. They always point out and bring out the Chinese. They bring out the Jews. See how the Jews act. See how this act. Well, those people are highly ethnic centered. So do you? But when I say let's be ethnic centered, then what do you say? So you fighting me on the very thing that you're praising them for.
Right.
I think we got Neo Black with us.
What's going on, fam? What's going on, fam? How you doing?
Everybody. Hey, man.
What's going on? I was in the middle of something, so I couldn't get on earlier. How y'all been?
Your hair look nice, nice.
Cool.
Good.
Exactly. You know, now I know why he called me on to this, because we had plenty of discussions like this earlier about, you know, when I remember when I first met Holip, one of the main things I discussed was getting like-minded people who want to do something for ourselves, just that small group and contingency together and just rock it forward. And whoever else, once they see the power, that everybody else will just follow through. And I think, you know, that's really what, you know, has been going on with this discussion so far. But I wanted to answer a question you had. It was like, how do we get the young people to sort of get along with this and have a curriculum with them? The benefit, I would say, of dealing with young black people is that young black people already want something of their own. If you look at them, everything from hip-hop on down, it's their own. They have that sort of tribal mentality initially that they can't really voice it or really understand it. It's not until they talk to some older black folks when they tell them about, you know, how powerful the white man is or how, you know, great the other side is, that they really start to lose confidence in what they have. So I think for this point, you know, with respect, again, young people I think the BAIO is simply the greatest measure for them, because we're like the only organization that actually tells them, that says, you know what, you're doing your thing, do your thing, and you know what, keep your thing to yourself. And another problem is, especially with this generation, a lot of young black people aren't really educated by the elders and the importance of sort of valuing what they have. And I think, you know, a lot of us are catching on our own, simply for the fact that we are living with the failures of the older generations with respect to integration and things of that sort. There's the reason why we have that. I know Holip has mentioned earlier that one of the main reasons the BAIO exists because of the failures of the conscious community. I give the failures of the conscious community, I say 50% of the success of why the BAIO exists. The other 50% goes to the black integrationist culture of the past.
Yep.
Because a lot of us are here because we witnessed their failures. I mean, we got all the receipts to show that how well they failed. So, you know, integration has had what is it, almost a 60-year run of pure failures. Not only is it pure failures, but it's regressional setbacks. I mean, we had something of our own back before then, and those dudes sold it out. So I think that's a really good selling point to younger people, is that you had something before, you have nothing now. And that's why the BAIO is the place to be, because we'll get you something now, and more importantly, we'll get you something on your terms.
And can I reiterate something that you just pointed out? But I want to put some emphasis on it. These guys have failed miserably. The same people that's complaining about the BAIO, the same people that's complaining about black nationalism, complaining about us having our own nation state, you motherfuckers have failed. And you're gonna hear it from me every fucking time. I'm gonna remind you that you failed, because you gotta get the nerve to try to come at us and give us advice. You build one fucking dirt road in this country, and then I'll listen to what you gotta say.
Exactly. But no one pisses me off than the people, let's say, of the generation, I'll say the 50, 60-year-olds who's, and I've heard this many times, brother, you live in New York City. How many stories have you heard of someone's grandparent or great-grandparent owning a brownstone and a corner store and end up losing it after the integrationist generation took over? Families just sold the shit because they wanted to have a job as a bus driver or a cop or something, because they opened it up. And you mean to tell them
immediate cash?
Or for some immediate cash, you know, sell their properties, things of that sort, rather than keeping the community together. And yet these are the same people, mind you, who complain when the younger people turn to things like crime or have no respect for them. I mean, and I'm going to get on my Minister Dawud thing right now with respect to, you know, getting them with energies and stuff. But young people sense when they've been wrong, even when they can't intellectually come to the conclusion that they've been wrong. They can sense in their spirits that something went wrong, they had something, and someone sold them out. And that's a lot of things these cats are not really wanting to touch on, the fact that we've been wronged by the previous generations, and because we can't verbalize how we've been wrong, we express it in other ways, through defiance of them, through just not respecting them altogether. Because think about it, these kids aren't stupid when they go to a history class and you talk about the Harlem Renaissance, and when even in passing, when they say back then black people, we had our own businesses, we had our own communities. If you look at the pictures back then, I remember Carla posted a video on Facebook about what New York was like in the early 1900s, in the 1920s when Harlem was ours. Yes, it was segregated as all knows hell, but it didn't matter because it was ours. And I always said this to Holip when I spoke with him. We didn't have much back then, but we had each other, and that was worth more than anything. And they sold that out. And now you have, in the 80s and in the contemporary times, you have the so-called conscious community who's supposedly on our side in respect to voicing many black nationalist talking points. But when it comes to them having to actually put into place black nationalist theory and actually put into place black nationalist practices, they don't do it. And we hold them even to a greater account, because you claiming to have the knowledge of what is going on but do nothing about it. That shows to me greater apathy than, say, some coon or some plain old sellout that says, you know, I just want to be a part of this. I can respect the Captain American Negro for the fact that he stands on what he believes in.
Exactly. That's why you really hear me talking about the Captain America Negro, because he's already taken his side. So it's no need for me to talk about him.
Exactly. And he has principles upon what he stands.
Right.
Like the Captain American Negro, he believes in America. He believes in integration. He believes in the goodness of America. He believes in other races of people. And he doesn't believe in you. And he says it flat out. Meanwhile, you have the so-called conscious community or members, and I use that term very loosely. I include that by conscious. I was just talking about the metaphysical conscious community. I'm talking about actual black nationalist groups who say that we need to form our own businesses. We need to get our own neighborhoods together. Or better yet, have people on a wild goose chase for ineffective solutions. So remember, brother, when we went to that meeting about quote-unquote gentrification, we had all these black folks in the room. There'd be about 20 of us. Not a single person mentioned stopping gentrification by getting people together to buy buildings. What did they say? We wanted to march. We wanted to go out in the streets. We wanted to protest. I'm like, what the hell is a protesting going to do against a group of Jews coming in your neighborhood with $20 million to buy stuff?
Yeah. I mean, seriously, the only thing a protest ever did for me, Neo, the only thing a protest ever did for me was show me why I shouldn't be protesting.
Exactly. The only benefit you're going to get out of a protest is you're going to get some exercise. You're going to get a little walk in.
Oh, yeah, you're going to get that. Your calves is going to be mad strong, boy.
Exactly, but you can do that. You know,
you don't even need Planet Fitness. You don't need Planet Fitness. Just find the nearest black activist march, and your calves is going to be tight, boy.
Exactly. You don't need Planet, and you're a cyclist, so you don't need to protest anyway, because you get to exercise cycling, and you don't got to worry about a cop throwing a baton or a can of pepper spray at you. So this is all nonsense with respect to these ineffective solutions. And I think what really is the source of anger within BAIO members and frustration is that you see people who have the human capital, and you see people who have maybe even the financial capital who do nothing about it but talk our talking points. I'm more angry at the black nationalist who has an audience of 1,000 members who can contribute about $20 a month to buy some property than I am at the so-called the rapper or the coon who makes millions of dollars and does nothing. Because I mean, you know what Lil Wayne's mind is with everything. You'd be a fool to expect him to be on black nationalism. But meanwhile, you have someone like, and you know, I don't mean offense to Minister Dawud, because we talk about this a lot. Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is supposedly the preeminent black nationalist leader in America, who has thousands of people following him, but yet can't get a store built. You can't even get an apartment building raised. I mean, not alone the store. We don't even cancel the grocery store because he's up against a lot of stuff. But an apartment building in a black neighborhood, meanwhile, you can get national race, other people of other races building stuff in black neighborhoods and taking black money. So my thing is, don't complain about not having the black dollar at your access when so many other races of people value the black dollar more than you do. Because if you value the black dollar, you go to get it.
You know how the thing that really is annoying and frustrating to me is how easy it is to get people to do things when you have a voice.
Yeah.
It's so easy. I remember, I'll give you little mundane examples. Mundane examples. If Beyonce happened to retweet your Twitter channel, you probably by the end of the day have about 50,000 more subscribers.
Yep.
Something that she could do with the flick of her wrist is nothing. You know, you have people that can have an audience. Like, if I would love to have an audience with Trump. I would love to have an audience with Trump. Imagine me talking to Trump. And I wouldn't be talking about no goddamn Larry Hoover.
Nope. I can imagine how that audience would go with Trump.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even talk about black people directly. You would do tongue-in-cheek stuff like I would love. Let me give you an example. If I were to have an audience with Trump, and one of the main things we've had, discussions we had, was the role of Africa, China in Africa. I would learn how to, because Trump is, for the most part, not intellectually engaged in a lot of things, but he is a man of action. He moves according to what you tell him first, faced in front. I would say, you know what? America needs a bigger role in Africa because we don't want China to win. And the number one people you should empower to go over to Africa and give money to go over to Africa are black Americans because we relate to them. And there you go. You can easily get U.S. funding and U.S. backing to fund to possibly, play a stronger black American hand in Africa. And learning how to play these people against them. The problem is we don't have these kind of sophisticated kind of discussions.
No, we don't.
The problem, exactly, especially amongst the quote-unquote conscious community. If you entertain the idea of using your enemy's power against them, they're going to say, oh, that's selling out. We can't use the white man's money, this, that, and the third. Dumbass, you use the white man's money to pay taxes. I mean, come on. Get real. If you pay taxes at all, and if you're going to make any serious amount of money, you're going to pay tax to them. That's the rules of the game. You in their country, you in their infrastructure. They have the ability to enforce those rules. You're going to live by them.
I'm gonna jump in right. I'm gonna jump in right here because you guys are touching on something, and I have a question that's just itching to jump off my tongue. Mm-hmm. So we're in this situation right now, and starting from here, because I remember
You must have hit your mute button, Ollie.
Yeah, you got to unmute yourself. I can't hear your question.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I hear you now.
Okay. I'm sorry. I wanted to ask this question. How do we start from where we are right now and instill in a curriculum in our children a nationalistic goal? What kind of motivations because let's face it, man, Beyonce, we can say, yeah, she could blow up nationalism overnight by one tweet.
Yeah.
But we all know that that's not going to happen. So we've got to work with what we have.
Okay.
So with what we have and the people we have and the resources we have available to us in America, how can we develop a curriculum that will instill in our children a type of nationalism to where they act in their own best interest and would not feel bad about the idea of perhaps betraying America in their own interest, meaning in the interest of Afrikan? To do what basically the Chinese do, to expatriate knowledge and to expatriate education. How do we, because we're going to always have influential voices. Black people they're going to always be black people who are put on stage before us that will not have the best interest of the people at heart. A Muhammad Ali is few and far between.
Or LeBron James, for that matter.
Well, yeah. So what do we do inspire, because we got to work with what we were. If we're waiting on rich blacks to help us, we're wasting our time, and we might as well just go put bullets in each of our heads.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to happen. You know,
Right.
so how do we create a curriculum that will encourage a new generation to act in its own best interest, something our people have never done before?
Okay, I can give you that answer, and you probably, because, and I love the way you frame the question. One of the things I've always loved to do with me is to always do things from sort of the bare minimum grassroots, you know, approach to nationhood. That's one of the main things I always talk to Holip about. All right, so all the family members listening, and all the folks who are going to listen to this broadcast after it's uploaded, if you want to do an early curriculum of black children towards nationhood, the first thing you want to do is sort of make whatever knowledge you want to appeal to them very interesting and engaging, and particularly as it relates to BAIO related interests. One of the main things, the easiest ways to start off, because it's so useful and effective, let's say, for example, STEM education. There are several black homeschool channels on YouTube that you can go to. If you have children that you can reference in terms of having great science experiments, one of them is the Little Homeschool Mama. I think I'm subscribed to her videos. I haven't noticed if she uploaded anything. But one thing she does, she homeschools her kids, and she gets science experiment stuff that she gets from Walmart for really cheap, and they perform the experiments. You can do that with your children, especially if you are a young man or a young woman, or if you're a young married couple, or even older married couple, and you're interested in educating your kids in STEM. Another thing you can do, if you want to educate yourselves in STEM, for example, I know a lot of us as a people, we have a very bad relationship with math education. Let's be honest with it. Black people, for the most part, are mathophobic because of how we were educated in math, growing up in the public school system. Either the teachers were really bad, or, you know, the education system is like, it is not designed for us as a people to succeed in these fields. One way you can teach yourself math is via YouTube. MIT has its entire undergraduate and graduate mathematics course online. What I would recommend you do, specifically BAIO members in the chapters in certain states, if you can get those members together once a week, or preferably 3 times a week, and go through every last one of those videos of those courses where y'all learn the math together, you're watching a professor and learning the math, and more importantly, write down questions you have about certain concepts you may not understand. For example, if you're studying calculus and you don't understand how the chain rule works, make sure you write that down. Say, you know, figure out how the chain rule works, and after that, you learn how all that works. What you're doing is you're teaching yourselves and you're learning together as a group. And before you know it, you'll be more competent in these sort of fields. That same thing goes with the electrical engineering. Same thing goes with day trading. You know, that's my baby. Computer programming, anything that is knowledge-based, I would suggest that you start with stuff that's knowledge-based, that puts you into the knowledge-based economy, because you want to start making money or generating income based on the knowledge you gain. And that's why I always mention day trading and forex trading and stuff like that, because once you learn that system and you implement it, and you can demonstrate after the back testing phase and the demo account trading phase, where you can make money, you apply it in real. And once you start generating tangible resources from your knowledge, then you build from there. So I hope that answered your question, Ali, with respect to generating a curriculum from the lower level, or from the grassroots level of BAIO members, because that's one of my things. I like to start out with what we got in our circle at BAIO members, doing that. In addition, if you are a BAIO member and you are an educator, but you are home, you're home because you have a partner who's out working, paying the bills or whatever, and you are at home parent and you're homeschooling your kids, you can also do what is called a homeschool cooperative. Basically, you get other parents in the area who may want to, you know, whom you can educate those kids, because the stats are out now that black homeschool kids are 3 to 4 grades more advanced than normal children of any age or a demographic in the public school system, or even in the case private school systems. You can bring those other kids into your system, in your home, and have them educated. And of course, the parents of those kids pay you a monthly income for it, and you know that's how you can do it. In fact, I am a product of Homeschool Cooperative. I went in junior high school. What I did is I went to a woman's house. She was an educator. She decided to open up her home to the children in the neighborhood, and my parents basically paid her at the time was $400 a month, which was a deep discount. And we basically got that intimate homeschool education, and it was so impactful that it taught me to be a very independent thinker. It taught me to, you know, see things outside of the box. I would not be the man I am today or have the views that I have today if not for that experience. So these are the things you guys could implement with respect to doing a grassroots sort of education system for young black kids. Also, Ali and all the other brothers who are actually in the trades and fields. Dotta, I think he's on. You're on the call right now, right?
Yeah, I'm on the call. I'm here.
Okay, Ali Dotta, especially Minister. He's not here right now, but I know he's going to be listening. Also, if you have a skill and you're already working in the field with a skill, try to get, if you're working under a company, see if you can petition that company to get you an unpaid helper. Why I say unpaid? Because the company's not going to want to pay for anything. But if you can convince the company to say, I need somebody to come along and help me, they're interested in learning the business, and they're willing to work for free. You got to say that. You got to, that's one of the 48 laws of power. Appeal to people's best interest or whatever one it is. What happens is you can get a young black man, a young black boy, and a teenager or so, and I'll preferably go to a college student a young black male college student or female college student who wants to experience under you to learn these skills. You can pass these skills on to them, and it's not going to cost the company anything. As long as you can convince them that it's going to make your work more efficiently because you have more people, somebody helping you. And this is unpaid. Not only does it contribute to their experience level, so when they write their resumes, they can say, I have this many hours of experience working under such and such, but it also allows you as someone who's putting forward the lessons of nationhood on the grassroots level to move that forward. And you can communicate nationhood with them without even explicitly communicating nationhood. Why? Because that relationship you form with that young man or woman lets them know that this was a black person who gave me my start. This is a black person who cared for me when I did not, who put me on to this, who gave me these skills. And as they grow and you introduce them to the BAIO and they, see what we're about, and, there'll be more influence to join us. So it's all about relationships. It goes back to one of the main BAIO principles. Every member of this organization, even on this chat, the first thing we did was we established relationships with each other. And that's how we're going to move forward. We established these relationships. Belly to belly, well, that's what the marketers call it, belly to belly, i.e. person to person relationships kind of, things. So these are just a few ways you can do it. And believe it or not, and it has a viral effect. You do this to one person, another person does this. Before you know it, within a matter of years, there'll be thousands of people doing this. Don't be surprised how a lot of people are surprised to find out, one person doing something and how in a couple of years it just explodes like, a mushroom farm or something like that. So don't be surprised if you start with something like this and it blows up and it grows exponentially and we having this discussion 10 years from now and we're seeing that, so many black folks are doing this and this nationhood thing's got further than we expected. So that's just a few suggestions. I hope I helped you out with that, Brother Ali.
No, you did, and it's funny you should mention the unpaid helper program because a lot of people from India do that at my company, where it's kind of masked as an internship, but it's really one person getting another person on.
Yep.
And and I guess that's a psychology we'll have to develop is to not mind paying the tuition of being unpaid for maybe a year or two, and possibly letting somebody crash on our couch in order for them to learn and master a trade that we're in, and that way we have more of a presence in that field. Like I wouldn't mind doing that in the field I'm in, understanding that they're not going to be paid for a year or two or maybe. That's what a lot of immigrants do. They'll stay 5 to an apartment
Yep.
and be at a company, and before you know it, man, in 5 years they own the block.
Yep.
You know, and I guess my next question would be, how, because I remember talking with my friend, and we were talking about just like the comic book stories and like manga and everything, and there somewhere in the essence of the theme of those stories is an emphasis on the value of education
Of course.
and, you know, a willingness to learn. And so I guess my next question would be, what do you guys think? How do you guys think we can? Because I think black children have a natural want to learn. I mean, my nieces and nephews, the night before their first day of school, you can't get them to go to sleep. And black children are eager to learn. But how do you? I guess how would we? God, how do I want to ask this?
You want to? I can fit it because I know what you're getting at. Because I ask myself these questions. How do we get black children to learn, especially when the introduction to learning has been through a school system that has sort of made them traumatized the learning processes, right?
Yeah. How do you keep
how
the
do you
fire?
overcome
How do
all
you
that
keep the
negative
fire going?
programming? How do you overcome all that negative programming? You know, and I think I can speak with some level of authority on this, and I've mentioned this before. I am someone who is diagnosed with ADHD. If anybody knows what that means, someone with ADHD going to school is like being tortured, pretty much. It's like being boiled in oil for us. We're very bored in school and things like that. We have sharp brains, we're very curious, but you have to keep the stimulation up and the curiosity going. From that perspective, and looking at black children from the purely ADHD perspective, because I know a lot of us are undiagnosed with this. And by the way, hold up, I want to do a show on this, on sort of, you know, dealing with mental sort of illnesses, or not illnesses, but mental conditions in the black community with respect to impedance to black learning. But how do you get black children learning? It's very simple, and I've done this before. One time I tutored a school. I did an after-school tutoring program. And at the time, I was in college learning calculus. Well, I had two brothers. They were young brothers. They were black boys. And they were doing bad in math. But because I'm someone who has struggles learning, I knew how to make things more interesting, because I had to make things interesting for myself. So what I did, I taught these young boys algebra. And what I did is I made it very engaging for them. So rule one, with respect to dealing with re-educating black children, or making black children passionate about subjects, specifically in the STEM, you have to make it engaging. You should not be tutoring, and I'm saying this to anyone who's passionate about, who wants to do this. If you're sort of a very boring communicator, you're not going to have much success with them. You have to make it very engaging. You have to make it fun. You have to make it interesting. I know, because my mother, she's a teacher, and one of the things she did when she went into her school was that when she took over the math program for her school, she had what was called a math field day, a math carnival, where, you know, she set up prompts and stuff. She dressed up like a clown. It was very strange. I'm like, Mom, why are you dressed up like a clown? She said, oh, we have the math field day. And what they did games and stuff with math problems. This thing was such a success, all right? And this was on a weekend, by the way. So what happens is the parents and everyone brought their kids into the school. By the way, it was a, you know, all black school, mostly black Latino school, but it was, you know, in the demographic that we're looking at to reach. This thing was so successful that the kids were crying that they didn't want to leave. At the end of it, they were having so much fun. The parents were having so much fun. That is sort of how we have to sort of engage our kids. And not only that, but as a culture of people, we are very dynamic people. We're very engaging, and we're very stimulating people. We are people who require a lot of stimulus because we're very curious people in that sense, and we like to add a flavor to things. I think that's something we ought to embrace. So with respect to teaching STEM, if you're going to teach something like calculus or something like that, it's good to have model sort of physical real-world experiences to acclaim a concept. For example, if you're going to, for algebra or something like that, like, I never knew algebra had any real-world concept until, like, we dealt with acceleration, things of that sort. You can design experiments to mirror such real-world experiences. That initially gets them interested in it. And as they're interested in it and they're sort of studying the concepts more, the interest would sort of be self-perpetuating, and they would sort of be gravitated towards the subject. And as that initial interest is going and that gravitation is going, that pull sort of stimulus is going, then they will get deeper and deeper into the subject, and then they will get to the more theoretical stuff that's not in front of them, things of that sort. But the thing is to get the spark rolling. That's the one way to get them interested. The second way to get them sort of focused on stuff is, and I don't want to mirror the conscious community with this, but this is the only thing they got right, is you have to have an environment where you can control their diet and what they're putting into their system.
Yeah.
A lot of black children, and we have to mention this because it's very important, a lot of black children are improperly nourished. A lot of us, you know, because let's be honest, a lot of us, we're in single parent homes, and mom's doing the best she can. She gets whatever food she can get from the supermarket at the price she can get because she got to eat and the kids got to eat. I don't have a problem with that. But a lot of the cereals and stuff they eat, what you think you're getting for breakfast is not good for brain health. For example, the worst thing you can do for your kids for sending them to school is giving them a bowl of Fruit Loops or something. What you have to do, especially if you're in a situation where you are tutoring young black children. This is one of the things this woman did for us. In that middle school I told you I went to, she prepared all the meals for us. And I can't think this is why she was so successful. One of the things you have to do, especially if you're working in an environment that you control, either your home or in a library, things of that sort, have snacks for them that are fat rich and low sugar, sort of a ketonic snack. So you can have them some slice of avocados or whatever, or something like that. So this way, if they're properly nourished, if your brain health is good, then you'll be more indicative to learning. So you want to try your best to get these kids on a very low sugar, high fat diet. That's two.
I'd like to throw something in this, if I could.
Hey, Minister, what's up, brother? You popped up. I'm happy to have you here.
Peace. I'm happy to be here, bro. Peace. How's everything going?
Pretty good.
I would like to throw something in there, but I think you had a third point.
Yeah.
Brother?
Hello.
Did we lose you?
Hello.
Neil, did we lose you? Well, I think we lost him for a second. Anyway, I guess until we get him back, let me just say this. For me, not only do I have 5 children, but I have been a person that has had, been a youth minister and taught young FOI classes when I was younger. And what I know about getting children to learn, the first thing that you have to do is you have to reach them where they're at. So, in other words, in order for it to be interesting, you have to start the discussion with something that they're interested in and they like. Too often than not, the problem with educating black children in America has been that the school system just tries to force information on them. And there's a lot of stuff that they're not interested in because they don't see themselves in it. So if we're going to borrow something from the conscious community, any part of the conscious community, the first thing I would say is that when black children see themselves in education, it becomes a lot more appealing to them. If they don't see themselves in education, then a lot of times it's like, what am I doing this for? And they'll default to rap videos and the other stuff that they watch. So we have to, number one, help them see themselves in what we're teaching them. And number two, we have to find something that they're interested in and use that as the fulcrum to get to them and get them interested in what we see. And the third thing that I would say is that a lot of times one of the main reasons why black children may not want to be a part of STEM, or any child may not want to be a part of STEM, and I continue to bang on this drum, the one thing that's underrated is confidence.
That is true. You got me? Y'all can hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, okay, I had to plug the thing out again. All right, I'm back. All right, cool.
Because a lot of times, I didn't think that I was good in math when I was younger because it was the way I saw myself. Mm-hmm. And once I got healed by a black kind of philosophy theology, all of a sudden I thought I was God. You know what I'm saying? And when I did, limits for me. Nothing was off limits. And it's the same way today. But when I was younger and I was finite, you see, like, the greatness in myself then I was good at reading, but I wasn't good at this, and I wasn't born this and that next thing. But now I know there's really nothing I can't learn if I don't put my mind to it. And so there's a level of confidence that we got to give our children. And you know, I just got out of counseling a couple, and one of the main things that you know, it's a new couple and they're building their relationship, and so we're having sort of like a pre-relationship counseling. And one of the things that we talked about is low self-esteem and self-doubt that come from parents that tell you when you're younger, you know, why don't you do this, stupid? You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that.
Yeah.
When children hear words like stupid, retarded, ignorant, dumb, or whatever from either family
they start to believe
or parents, exactly. And that shatters their self-esteem. So it's like, go ahead, big brother, go ahead.
And not only that, and sometimes the sad part is they're called stupid and dumb in their homes. When they're in the school, they get a sort of tongue-in-cheek sort of elucidation to it all.
Right.
For example, like
That's
when you're
true.
in school, like when a black child is in school and he gets back his sort of report card, he sees that it's less than everybody else's, and he's like, why am I failing? I must feel dumb. And you sort of know the parent gets the report card. Mind you, the parent is really not engaged in their education actively like that. And you know, she tells him, you dumb MF, this, that, and the third. There's a lot of emotional and psychological trauma there. Exactly. When the thing is, you're not stupid at all. You are just, you know, not interested. And I'm glad that Minister spoke on that in terms of things that they're interested in. One of the things I love about the BAIO is that we got a lot of comic book heads in here. And that gives us a real advantage over everybody else, because one thing other young kids are interested in is fantasy and comic books. And that's how we relate to them. That's why we were like the only nationalist organization that was excited when Black Panther came out, because we knew that would be a good stimulus rallying point for the interest in STEM.
Okay,
Right.
I have a question. I have
certainly.
another question. I want everybody to answer this. Dotta. I want everybody to answer. Okay. Right. I'm an 80s baby, so my teenagehood was the 90s. Okay. This was the height of Michael Jordan.
Wait, what 80s baby? Because I was in 85. You must be early 80s.
I'm 1980.
Oh man, you earlier than us. You were my sister.
Okay, so all right, so this is the height of Michael Jordan. This is the height of Tupac. This is the height of Biggie. This is when, you know, this is 90s hip hop and that culture. And in that culture, I remember one time Tupac in an interview said he had to hide the fact that he was kind of intelligent, he was kind of smart, because he didn't want to get clowned by other dudes. You know, they didn't want to think that he was a punk or anything because he was so smart. Right. So, a question to all of you in regards to curriculum and culture. How do we create a culture where intellect and knowledge and what we consider nerdy is appealing? Because one thing that's always jarred at me in school was that Black kids, we're the only children at school that think it's stupid to be smart. We're the only kids that demonize knowledge. And if you come to us, a group of Black kids don't ever sit in a circle and just talk about what the science class was about. Yeah. And I actually saw white kids and even Hispanic kids sitting and talking about what after class and stuff like that. But Black kids are talking about Game 7. They're talking about the new Biggie song, or, you know, anything like that. So how do we take the stigma off of well-spoken, intelligent Black children? How do we make intelligence of value in our culture? Because it's not. It's not a value.
Can I ask I need some clarity.
I would like to answer that one
before I answer.
Okay.
When you say that, I'm trying to understand. You mean, how do we do that? Where? Here?
In school. Like just well, I mean here as in organized.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna take the first shot at that. Y'all hear me, right?
We do.
Everybody just got eerily silent. I get worried. I'm gonna take the first shot at it. You mentioned several things. one of the main, I would say, one of the bright spots in the new generation of black children that we're going to be dealing with, because I'm still working in the frame that we're working from the last questions, that we're doing a purely grassroots thing. We're sort of working what we got right now, right here, right now. So I hope that puts in this, some context in the situation. Basically, we're taking black kids we got right here, right now, in our situation, and dealing with it. One of the main things I want to address certain things. One, you mentioned in the 80s and the 90s that this was made. That all right, in the 80s and 90s, black anti-intellectualism was a big thing. You will have no disagreement with that one. That's what sort of gotten this whole thing off, like talking, aka speaking like the white, you talking white kind of thing was big in the early 90s. It was huge. The benefit is, and I went to high school in the late 90s, early 2000s, from 1999 to 2003. That wasn't the case when I went to, and I went to an all-black high school. I went to actually Boys and Girls High School right here in Bed-Stuy. That was not the case in my for my generation, in my years. The brother said he was, Ollie said he was born in 1980. I was in 85. So within that 5-year gap, the level of anti-intellectualism in high school, from what I noticed from a cultural standpoint, wasn't as bad. In fact, if you were smart in high school, you weren't not teased for it. I mean, you weren't congratulated overtly for it either, but you weren't teased for it. I'm going to address several things. One, especially in public school system, especially in a public black or black school, the smart kids the problem is the smart kids were super elevated and everybody else was made to feel like they were nothing. Either smart kids were super elevated and the kids who were performing below average were given more attention, and the kids in the middle specifically were ignored. So a lot of us were probably in the middle somewhere. Basically, we were just getting by. To address that, in the current generation, basically with my brother's generation and on down, say from Gen Z, that's talking about the kids born in the early 90s, he was 92. From the kids born in the 2000s, you don't see that level of anti-intellectualism amongst black culture, thank God. You do have a blurred movement, what's called the Black Nerds movement. Marquise Browley on YouTube is a perfect example of that. Now, I say now, more than I would say, not ever, but now, more than in the last 50 years, black intellect has been more celebrated within the black community than everything. This comes from the Black Girls Code movement. You have a lot of black kids interested in app development, things of that sort. So I sort of see the brighter light, the light on the edge of the sort of the clouds kind of thing. So now I would say it's more beneficial to educate black kids in STEM, especially younger kids, because it's more acceptable to be sort of smart. The problem is with black anti-intellectualism is taking a new phase. It's not overtly as bold as it was back then. Nobody goes the whole talking white kind of thing. And I would give the hip hop movement this credit, like, we're sort of putting executives like the P. Diddy's and the Jay-Z's on the front. Yes, these guys are cool and they're in hip hop, but when people see them, they don't present themselves as the guys with the sagging pants. They always present themselves in suits. So that visual effect has had a positive movement with respect to sort of getting rid of this anti-intellectualist culture. Just look at Nas. The guy is a venture capitalist. He invests in tech firms. So I think that's something we got to work with now. I don't think, like, if we were doing this work and say, if today was 1995 and we were having this discussion, then addressing anti-intellectualism in the black community actively would be more of an issue. But now I don't think it is an issue. I think it's more of a product of stimulating interest in something, or sort of appealing to these kids' best interest at heart. That's why, like I said, I picked day trading, because day trading is very stimulating and the rewards are very quick, and also the pains are very quick with it. So it keeps them engaged. So I say today, now more than ever, ironic, and a lot of people probably think I'm crazy at this, I think today's black children are probably more moldable and educable today, now more than ever, because one, they're free, they're out in the wild, so you could just, don't take this the wrong way, you can sort of just, engage them, aka snatch them up in the sense that if you want to get them involved in a project with you, I think you'll have more young kids open to you than ever, because they're much more curious, especially with this the internet generation being what it is, I would say our kids are far more curious today than they were in the early 90s and the mid 90s. So I don't think that's too much you have to worry about with respect to, you know, dealing with kids who just don't want to learn in that sense. I think your main concern will be, how do I present myself to this young man or young girl such that showing her what I want to do is very interesting. And I always say when dealing with any young person, particularly black kid, go loud and go loud and go fast, man. I take the demolition approach to everything. I'm like, if I want to teach chemistry to a black kid today, say, hey, watch me blow up a rock, and boom, that'll get them into doing it. I'll take the Call of Duty approach. Basically, I asked them, I'm like, if you played the game of Call of Duty, if I were to have a camp to teach you how to do that stuff in real life, would you be interested? And they all said yes. So I say, with respect to getting their interest, because I don't think the anti-intellectual element is as prevalent as it was in the past. You just have to be very stimulating, very loud, and very flashy. And if you have problems with that, being loud and flashy, just team up with someone who is loud and flashy, but at the same time can translate the information you want to present to them, and you could probably make that happen. So that's my thing on it. Yeah. Anyone else?
Okay, so I guess my next question would be, in light of what you said about.
Oh shit! I've been mute. I didn't even know I was muted.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm up here talking. I didn't even know.
I tell you, I get scared when everybody gets quiet because my headphones are usually the ones having problems. I'm thinking I gave that long speech. I'm like, I hope that I don't have to get that again. So
yeah. Well, I'm not going to be long because I know there's other questions and stuff that need to be answered as far as the learning and the curriculum. But you know, learning. There's all kinds of learning. So it's just how you approach the learning style. It's like if you're going to be a facilitator or you're going to be someone who's going to be trying to teach or you're going to try to give someone knowledge or trying to help someone along the way, you have to have you have to understand the styles of learning. You know, a lot of people learn in different ways. Like, for instance, me, I'm 76. So growing up in Marcy projects and, I've been around a couple of places though. But my learning was kind of slowed down because of the movements that I had in my life, in my early life. So at one point they had me going to resource. I don't know if Minister Dawud know about that. The resource classes where the kids had to go. Yeah. So I was one of those guys that I had to go to resource. Yeah. I had to go to the resource class and I had to actually listen to the auditory part of the lesson that was given so I can learn on a one-on-one base. Because what the teacher was telling me wasn't computing in my head because I had a lot of stuff going on. So what that is, I had on a listening device. We had these big ass headphones on and it goes through the story and you read along and then, you got questions and answers. And then, you have your visual part of learning, the learning style. So that's like, PowerPoints or books, brochures, anything that's going to help the child that they're attracted to. So we have to understand that image is everything and things that they listen to is everything. Yeah. If someone is constantly hearing themselves, oh, you ain't shit, you ain't gonna be shit, black people this, black people that, they're gonna try to disassociate themselves with certain things. So like in my environment, I grew up around the rough part. And I was like, I was at a certain point, I got, I kind of grasped a lot of stuff. So I was kind of intelligent. But then at the same time, I was in an environment where everything around me was like, hey, we don't do this. This is what we do. We get down. You know what I'm saying? We run the streets. You can't be smart. You cut in school and stuff like that. So, I couldn't tell people that I scored one of the highest grades in 8th grade for my essay. I didn't want my homeboys to know about that because I was like, that mean like, I'm kind of standing apart from these guys. So, I was trying to fit in. So it's kind of like you got to attract them in a way that they understand. Like with me, and this is why we probably all connect, is because I'm a comic head. I used to always, before I used to go to school, I used to stop on Franklin Avenue before I transferred over on the 3 train. Mind you, I was only 10. I was like 11 to 12 years old, traveling by myself, going to school. So what used to occupy my time was reading comic books on the way to school. And you know, that was just me. And then I got into, I met a couple of other intelligent brothers and stuff. In the 7th grade, I got into science a little bit, like I said it before in this in one of the shows, where you know we did a science fair, and we came like in 1st place or 2nd place in doing gibberellic acid. Like I didn't even know what the hell that was. And then I learned about the process of the methodology and stuff like that. So, you know, scientific method, I didn't know nothing about that, but we apply it in some kind of way. But now it kind of makes sense of like, yo, some of the things that we do don't have no method to it. And, you know, it doesn't make sense. So this is why a lot of people get confused, because it's not being processed right. So those are just, like I said, those are the learning styles that, you know, we can give to these kids, especially at the lower level. I mean, it goes on from kids to adults as well, but it's just the level that you're giving it to. So, like I said, some people learn by visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, which means you can apply that with team building, hands-on experience, role playing, you know, taking notes and you know, discussions. You know, that right there gets the kids' interest. Let them lead and talk about it, and then clarify and help them understand. So, I mean, we can do it. It's just the people that gotta put the effort into it. And this is the part of the curriculum learning that we are trying to do, learning how to use these learning styles to get what we need.
Right. So let me jump in. First of all, man, Dotta, I didn't know you was one of the 70 cats.
Yeah, man.
Listen, I know I'm not crazy. I know I'm not going to use this word on this show, but that's my nigga. Anyway,
it's like when you was talking about being in Franklin Avenue and everything, I'm thinking, oh wow, that sounds like one of Holip and I's when we do restaurant hopping, we be in that area.
And when he said resources, man, that brought child, because you know I'm born in 1971, so that brought back a lot of childhood memories because I remember. Word up. I would say this, bro. As far as like, okay, so I'm gonna give a multi-tiered answer. And I think that I'm going to give away Holip's answer because I heard an example of it. But first off, the question is it here or there? Because it's 2 different contexts. So in other words, if we're trying to put together curriculum there, where we're going, it's not even really a question.
Yeah.
Because we will control the culture, and just by the people who are building that nation, the culture that we create will facilitate education, intelligence, smart learning, things like that. So we ain't got to worry about that. But here, I think that it's a very complex, multi-tiered thing that we have to do, because remember this, and as I said before, I got 5 children, 4 girls and 1 boy. At home, you got to remember that everything outside is totally against what the fuck you teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So in other words, you know, unless we build satellite communities here, this conversation that we having is really moot. Because if we're trying to teach them at home and then you send them out here into this world, the best thing you could do really is cross your fingers. And I'm just keeping it 100 with you.
I'm actually good on that. I'm obviously disagree with you slightly. I look at it from.
Let me finish.
Oh, no problem, brother. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's all good. I want you to disagree, but I just want to finish. And the reason why I say that to you is this: it's like, you've heard the whole story or the old saying, "The preacher's children is the worst children," right?
Yep.
I was just about to say that. Yo, you my man. Yo, you right in my head.
I've never heard that.
That's what they say. And the reason being is this. It's not that the preacher's children are the worst children. It's that you expect a whole lot more from them, right?
Yep.
But just remember, they're going out into the same world that you're trying to fight against. So what I'm saying is that it's not that you're at a loss and you have no power over it, but you always got to remember that when you send your children out into this world, that there's a reason why we're trying to get away from here, right?
Yep.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so knowing that, you got to understand that everything you teach them, at some point they're going to go out and hear something totally opposite of it when they go out. Now, for me, when I went to high school, and I went to Lafayette High School. When I went to high school, bro, it's the exact
opposite. New Yorkers.
Word up.
I'm like, man, y'all taking me all over the hood. Well, go ahead, brother.
Word up. So I went. Ironically, I had maybe two. The rest of my friends was thugs, all of them, and they appreciated me being smart. And what they did was, I used to, and I kind of blush when I tell you this, but I literally had a homework and report service that I was charging people. What's it called? I would write their reports and do their homework for money in Lafayette High School. And I remember I got so many requests that I had to buy, because I had a Commodore 64 at that time, so I had to buy a Word. Yeah, I had to buy a word processor because I had too many requests. Because once it turned out that I was good, everybody was coming to me like, yo, shorty, you could do my homework for me, yo, shorty, how much you charge? So we literally had like a tiered pricing sheet. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we do reports, that's $10, and if you just do homework, that's that's $5. And all of the thugs appreciated it. They was like, when they saw me, they was like, yo, that's shorty from Coney Island. He does homework. Yo, get at him. Or they'd be like, yo, that shorty does reports, man. This shit is butter. And I got the reputation.
So you was Google before Google came out.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I had I literally had a full suite of encyclopedias. So whenever they gave me a report, I'd be like, what's this report on? And yo, listen, and I'm telling on myself here, but I got to the point where I knew the teacher. And I'd be like, you got so-and-so, right? So this is how they're going to want your report. You know what I mean? And so,
damn.
So what I'm saying to you is that intelligence is not always looked as a weak point or looked down on, because when I grew up, it's just certain circles where people, you know what I'm saying, don't like to appreciated me being as smart as I was, and I didn't have any problems. I had problems in junior high school, but in high school I didn't. So I think that certain areas where people, and they all smart. And so with the internet, social media, it's easier to get together and share this. What we would have to do is we would have to build more of those kind of centers where people could come together, and it's okay to be smart, because the whole saying again goes that if you send your children out into a situation where it's exactly opposite of what you're teaching them at home, you're going to have a rough time. But if we have enough centers around where, you know what I'm saying, where we are, that there is education intelligence and it's facilitated and it's cool, you know what I'm saying? Because nothing is better than peer pressure, y'all. So
that's true.
If we build enough places where the peer pressure is, if you ain't smart, you ain't down with us, that'll work much more wonders than an adult standing over you telling you, you should like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Yeah, it's sort of like a sanctuary of knowledge, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah. All right, but I wanted to touch on one thing you said with respect to the peer pressure. One of the things, because I look at outliers in a lot of things, it's pretty clear that like the makeup of this panel in itself is a demonstration of the outliers. Like pretty much all of us here, maybe with the exception of Minister Dawud and maybe Holip, we're pretty much loners. Pretty much coming up. Pretty much we stay to ourselves, things of that sort.
No. I was a loner too.
You was? Oh man, you was probably the coolest loner ever. He was like Bruce Wayne or something.
Nice.
But tying it into what you were saying about sort of when you teach at home, it's a struggle between what's taught at home and versus what they go out there. That is correct, and that is correct in a lot of sense, because what you teach at home, basically the peer pressure is gonna get into them. What I've learned a lot from people who pretty much strong in their personalities with respect to what their agenda is and why they are out there, I think it boils down to what sense of mission you give this child. If you give this child a sense of mission, a strong sense of mission that is closely and highly tied to their sense of identity, I think they'll be very sort of, they'll be very, successful in sort of rejecting peer pressures and peer pressures that go against those values. I've seen it a lot when I was in school, where you had, of course, the kids who were, sort of, big into the contemporary culture. I was different because I grew up in an all-black school. Obviously, hip-hop was big back then, but I was probably the only kid me and like two other kids who were the ones listening to rock music. So, and I think that level of defiance against them, so to speak, was what sort of kept me from falling into the culture, so to speak. And not only that, but I was interested in Star Trek and all that other good stuff.
I got a question. Blink 182 rock or Blink 182 rock or classic rock?
Oh God, no, classic rock. I got interested. Okay, what helped me was there was this is a short story. There was a teacher there who was he was a big metalhead. He was a white guy, and when I got interested in metal, he got me into like the really heavy metal. So I really got interested in it. I liked metal. Cool. But what was good though, what I loved about it was that even in being in an all-black school, with me liking metal, I would say that black kids are a lot different than white kids with respect to how we deal with each other who are different. Like white kids will bully you to the point where you're either going to shoot yourself or shoot up the school. Black kids at worst would say, "Oh, that's just weird. We're gonna leave him alone because he's a devil worshiper," or, "Oh, that's really interesting. They'll just leave you alone." The only way black kids will bother you if you bother them. So that's what I love about our kids.
Yeah, no,
cool. Because I grew up liking Pantera and.
Oh yeah, I know Pantera, Megadeth, Judas Priest, all that good.
Oh yeah.
FYI, the BAIO is the only time you will hear people in a conscious community say they do not dare go to a conscious community forum talking about you love heavy metal. You will be drummed out faster than anything.
Yeah, but I mean, by the Illuminati.
Exactly, you were sent by the Illuminati. But what I was saying is that there's a way to engineer strong personalities to go out into that world of sort of resistance and even change it. Because let me tell you something, a smart black kid who's self-realized and knows who he is and knows what he's there to do, he don't have to be the best scrapper amongst them, but to stand in his convictions and convince you why he is that, he will dominate that situation. There are many times I was in situations where no one thought like me, but I was so strong in my convictions that I either commanded the situation altogether or got people to think the way I did. So I would say don't underestimate the power of a strong personality or generating a strong personality. And another thing is I want to, because I got the book right in front of me, that I want everybody in this panel to read. It's called Steel and Fire: How Silicon Valley, the Navy SEALs, and maverick scientists are revolutionizing the way we live and work, by Stephen Kotler and Jamie Weil. Basically, that book talks into, and I've spent it as many times since we're talking about learning systems and how to generate passive learning. That book talks, it's a secondary part of Stephen Kotler's book that deals with the flow state and how to induce flow states in group learning. And I think it's very important to incorporate those techniques. So we all know what a flow state is. Basically, a flow state is, Minister goes through it when he's doing when he's building a home security system. Basically, when you're so engrossed into doing something, time slows down, and it has your full attention. You feel your best, and you work your best while doing it. So basically, when you're in flow state and doing something, say for example, you look at the clock, it's 9 a.m., and when you look at the clock again, it's 5 p.m., and you think only 8 minutes went by. That's what it's like to be in a flow state. So I think that is critically important, understanding the flow states and what in a sort of autotelic learning. That's going to be critically important with respect to engineering an education system, even from the grassroots level for something you want to do in your house, and to a national level, because that'll produce the best learners, that'll produce the most passionate learners, and that'll produce the most independently thinking learners. Y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
we do.
I heard a beep at the end of it, and I was like, I hope I didn't cut off again. So
you're good.
Okay, that's I think I'm going to do a show on that, just solely on the flow state, because I think it's so important with respect to sort of building knowledge and building an infrastructure and sort of building the people who are going to build that infrastructure and knowledge. But that's absolutely critical with respect to engineering the personalities we need to go out there. Because let's be honest, the BAIO child, and I actually want to figure out who is the youngest person in the BAIO. The BAIO child has to be one who's going to go out and not only just go through this system or go through this situation, especially if he's going to be he or she is going to be amongst other black children. But they have to understand, if you're amongst other black children and other black people, you must dominate that situation for their sake and yours. So that has to be very critical, and that's not something that should be explicitly explained to them because it's going to give them a sense of pressure. But that's something that should be implicitly imprinted on them, and that's something we have to work out, especially amongst us in the BAIO who have children. Because I know for certain ministers' kids don't have these issues for the most part going on because he posts pretty much all their developments on Facebook, so we know. But if you guys want to elucidate on that, I'll be more than happy to hear from you.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm learning.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah. So, like I said, the developing the curriculums for whatever level that you're trying to, who you're trying to. I think we lost Minister Dawud. Who we're trying to get. The target audience, whoever we're targeting, that's the level that you're going to deal with. So, like I said, there's different kind of learning styles. There's different kind of teaching styles as well. So, like I told Holip earlier about the two differences of learning, of pedagogy and andragogy is, the pedagogy person is the child that, they're called the students, they have a dependent learning system. So they dependent on you to teach them, and then, what their objective is. These people are the unexperienced and uninformed. So they don't know. So this is why you take it from the basic. You start real basic and then you move your way up. And then, everything that about them is controlled. The timing is controlled by you, and the pace it is going is by you, the teacher. So like I said, and then as far as the adult, where in the developers course, we call them participants. We don't want to make no one seem like they're, like they're kids or anything like that. So, and it's an independent learning style. So, the actual participant have experience to contribute to the class itself, because, as you get in and you talk about certain things and like, oh yeah, I know that. Well, tell me your experience about dealing with so-and-so, it's kind of, you're trying to make it mesh together so it can make sense to them. So, you know what I'm saying? And most of when you're teaching them, it's going to be real life situation, instead of it being like some fantasy or some kind of made up stuff, Of
course.
And it's participant focused. It's mainly about them getting hands-on and getting engaged. And like I said, in those different kind of levels or styles that you teach, like whether it's through auditory, through hands-on, or through seeing. So
yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Someone told me, I think the most pertinent thing anyone ever told me, and he said the purpose of education is not to learn, but to learn how to learn. And I think that's absolutely critical. Anytime, and I'm glad you mentioned that, those styles of learning, the different phases of learning, the child learning versus the adult learning. I think what mainly, and this ties into what we want to do with respect to on the grassroots level in terms of producing the BAIO child, or sort of the primordial BAIO child, i.e. the BAIO child learner who's living in this context until we get the own nation. Right. I think what's important is to get them to that state of independent learning as fast as possible. It's particularly within the teen years, because let's face it, teen years is when, with the front part and the back part of the brain start connecting more often. Well, it actually starts connecting, and they're starting to tie values into experiences and things of that sort. If you get, and then we've always learned this, really smart children, when they're younger, they tend to be more independent thinking teenagers. They tend to be more the rebellious type in sort of the good way, i.e., That's, for example, if you are a teenager in an anti-intellectual environment and you're a smart teenager, naturally that rebellious streak in you will go against the anti-intellectual element of your culture. What I think is very critical for BAIO members to do, particularly if you are sort of tutoring young kids, I would say prepubescent children, is to get them to that level of sort of packing them up with so much knowledge and so many values as possible. This way, when the hormones kick in, the brain starts rewiring itself, you kind of have that programming in so that they will defy this culture that they are in that is anti-intellectual, at the same time encouraging independence, all the while encouraging nationhood at the same time. So you want to build, basically create new BAIO members, because, I was a scientist at one point. I look at the membership of the BAIO and what the sort of the neurological and the psychological profile is within everyone in this organization. We're all independent thinkers, but at the same time, we understand we all have a collective goal, and we respect each other's individual sort of values relative to achieving that goal. And with that in mind, it is very incumbent upon us, if we're dealing with creating sort of, rather to be an after-school program or mentorship programs that we do with other kids, is to create a psychological profile in those kids that are sort of indicative of that model. Basically, you want to be an independent thinker, but you got to understand the role that the community plays, even when there is no community, and the role that you're going to play with respect to establishing said community. So basically, we're engineering Black nationalist social engineers on top of that with other type of engineers. So this is the type of person we have to produce with respect to sort of, passing skills on, creating curriculums, things of that sort. So there's an agenda to this. And Holip and I actually discussed this before. When we talked about young kids, he's, earlier on, he said, you know what? I am not against having schools where kids are trained to be a certain way. I'm not.
Hey, define. Unpackage that. What do you mean a certain way?
For example, if you see that a kid has a penchant for science or art or things of that sort, he's not against a sort of developing, sort of gearing that child towards science or engineering or things of that sort of art, or better yet, just, sort of, and this was an earlier conversation long before we even got to this phase in the BAIO, sort of psychologically engineering people to engage in certain tasks as per the needs of society at this time. And believe it or not, a lot of cultures do this. For example, they do it implicitly. Rather, Indians, there's a reason a lot of Indians are doctors, because their parents gear them to be a doctor. They said, you're going to be a doctor no matter what. Even though, the dude may have he may love music, but, he's in a medical clinic somewhere being the worst doctor ever when he should be a musician. But the thing is sort of towards that degree. But the example is, we do sort of, we figure out what the person is good at first and then gear them towards that. So, for example, if you need more scientists or more mathematicians or more engineers or more artists, we're not against the idea of sort of training more kids to those fields, so to speak. That's
okay, so like the Baron Tanaka approach, man.
Exactly.
Where he went and, they're like oceanography for you, seeing what the child is good at and gearing them towards that based on the needs of the country.
Exactly, so to speak. And these were just primordial, these were at the time primordial, just, intellectual brainstorming sessions that we're engaging. But they're very important, because let's be honest about the world we're in. We have China that is producing lots upon lots of engineers and scientists. They're not the best in the world, but there's enough of them to be functional and get the country moved in advance. And here we have a situation where we're in Black Americans, where we still hold into this idea of pretty much it's okay for you to, if you want to be a rapper, be a rapper. No, that's not okay. I mean, no, you are not. Somebody has to step there.
I do want to interject this conversation, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
If y'all know me, y'all should anticipate this. This is the part where I definitely come in. I agree with you, Neil, that we definitely should stamp out all attempts for future hip hop careers. I do agree with that. However, having a child in college, well, 2 children in college, here's the one thing that I would say to y'all is that when I was coming up, you know what I'm saying? They said that a lot. When I was coming up in the nation, they said that a lot from the roster. It was like, we got to make our children this and we got to make our children that. The problem with that is, brothers, is that your children may not want to do that. And what happens is that it destroys their self-esteem when you push them in a certain direction that they may not want to go. For instance, my oldest daughter, since day one coming out the womb, wanted to be an architect. My ex-wife actually put that in the womb. Like she said it aloud. She did prayers and affirmations while reading the Quran. She said it, and she was very gangster with this child. Like the other 2, she wasn't all that concentrated, but with that first child, she was definitely gangster with it. She that child hit the ground wanting to be an architect. Somewhere along the line, her grandfather, which is my ex-wife's father, may Allah be pleased with him because he passed away a couple of years ago, he got this brilliant idea that you should be, you should go to school and have 2 majors. You should be an engineer and an architect at the same time. So my poor daughter went to school wanting to be an engineer, and she really didn't like it. So she failed basically, a year and a half of semesters because she really didn't apply herself. And then I remember one day, and I think I told the story on the show before, but I remember one day the most telling point was I was like, baby girl, what's Ohm's law? And she's like, Ohm's law, what's that? How the hell can you be an electrical engineer and you don't know what Ohm's law is? But that showed you how disconnected she was from that particular goal. And finally, she just took herself out of it and she focused on architecture. I'm not saying she's doing the greatest now, but she's doing a whole lot better. So what I would say is that the skill in being a parent to me is looking at your child and being able to say, I think this particular STEM area would be best suited for you. Yeah. But let's try to see if that's something you're interested in. And I'm reading this book right now, and the book is called So Good That They Can't Ignore You. And I think I talked about it before. But in this book, I'm almost finished with it. It talks about how the myth in America and all over the world is follow your passion and the money will follow, which is bullshit. Yeah. Because in reality, you don't really know what you're good at, and proficiency, skill, and accomplishment is what really brings passion. We think that when we're younger, I think I want to be a hang glider. I have a passion for that. I think I want to be a rapper. And the reality of it is that once you get into rapping and you find out you ain't really that good, then you don't really pursue it. But it is all about what value you can add to the marketplace in contrast to what the marketplace could give to you. So I just think that we got to be very careful when it comes to our children and saying, y'all got to go this way, y'all got to go that way, because I really feel in my heart that that's one of the reasons why there's not a third generation of conscious community, brothers and sisters. The reason being is they saw the passion of their mothers and fathers for the conscious community, and they said, F that, I don't want to go into no conscious community. That was bullshit. We was poor all the time. And we didn't have drinking water or, stuff like that. And all my other friends whose mothers and fathers focused on their economics, they had this, and this. And it's not so much the poverty of the conscious community, more so than it was, that's not what I wanted to do.
Exactly.
So we just got to be kind of careful which way we try to, quote unquote, push our children and tell them they ain't got no choice, because, listen, like I said before, I had big problems with my oldest child because I tried to push my oldest child in a certain direction, and she didn't want to go that way. Now we cool, but there was a couple of years of amending process, and I don't want that for none of y'all. I don't want none of y'all to have
Can I jump in on this?
Please do.
Yes. Double Dutch, baby.
I think nice. There's 2 questions from the chat room, but before I give them, I just want to say this, that I think in a proper functioning educational system, we will be able to tell the difference between a Nas and a Marquez Brownlee.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Because you don't tell Nas, no, you ain't gonna rap.
Right.
So if we should be able to know and see what type of kids that we're dealing with. You know what I mean? But I want to go to some questions. There's 2 questions in the chat room. One is from LL. Not Cool J, just LL.
Yep.
What comes first, the satellite community or the nation?
The nation.
The nation. Chinatown's nothing without China.
Right.
I say it's symbiotic, given the situation you're in. The difference between Chinatown and us, and I compare us more so to the state of Israel, because that is a nation that began with a diaspora as opposed to a diaspora that began with a nation.
That's true.
Man, I never heard it put that way.
That's true.
Michael, that was great.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for us, it's going to be symbiotic in the sense that you have okay. The thing is, and then I don't want us to get too distracted by this. Blacks in America, we have a lot to bring to the table. The problem is we're in America, and I think it's both a blessing and a curse in the sense that we have access to this nation's economy, and pretty much its economy. That's it. That's all we got access to.
Right.
But we have access to this nation's economy, and that's something that should be leveraged very strongly with that respect. Why I say it's symbiotic, because it's something we're going to have to do at the same time. There are no prerequisites. I say they're co-requisites in this regard. I.e., for example, the BAIO members were doing a trip to Rwanda. I think it's going to be both built at the same time, and it's both hands are going to wash each other. So the advancements we make in the satellite states will automatically be leveraged to build the communities on the continent, to the point where each part is sort of operating on its own. So that's my sense of it all, because, like I say, Chinatown's their situation is different from us. There was always a China, there was always an Italy before there was those Little Italies and Chinatowns. There was no quote unquote African America in Africa, or there was no Blackistan before there was Black America. So it's going to be something we have to build. And that's why I say we're more closely related to, I say, the state of our development is more closely related to the state of Israel than anything else, because that is the case where there was a diaspora before there was a nation.
Good
Anybody else want to chime in before I ask the next question?
No, I think he did good.
Okay. The next question is from Adrian H. He says, don't we need institutions rather than small groups of people doing their own thing? Remember, we are fighting against other groups with thousands of them.
I saw that. But who said that we was going to be small groups, though?
My thing is, I don't know, I hate to hog up those times. I'm going to answer that directly. I'll do this solely from the perspective of BAIO members, because I come from the perspective that we having this discussion are the only people on earth talking like this, even though we are not. But I say we start with what we have, and because small groups is what we have right now, those small groups grow into the larger institutions. I mean, every oak starts out as an acorn. If you look at Malcolm X's speech, Ballad of the Bullet, he talks about that. He said General Motors didn't start like how they were. They started out as a rinky-dink operation. Walmart started as a five and dime store. So you can't race Usain Bolt before you learn to crawl. I mean,
this is how you get the institutions. Yeah.
Exactly.
This is how you get these institutions.
And I would say this, if not to downplay the sisters or the brothers question, but the only people who can give us those styles of institutions now are the people who we want to get away from. And if we get to a point where we let them give us the institutions, if they give us the institution, we take that sort of poison pill, we're not going to get to where we got to go.
Right.
So the hard fact is we have to start out on the grassroots level. There's no getting around it. We have to do this work because the previous generations and the contemporaries who had the means to do this work have not done it, which is a major source of our frustration, so to speak. But we have to do this work. So if you can sit back, or you can sort of aid in the work and accelerate the process on by being a part of it, or you can support it by any means you can. But it has to be done. There's no getting around of it. Any other questions?
I want to. There's no other questions that I can see, but I want to give my take on it, which is a little bit more harsh.
I thought mine was harsh already.
You actually was a lot softer than I would have done it.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, really?
More reasonable, definitely. Mine's a little bit more harsh, and it's basically. And keep in mind, y'all, this is based on my opinion. It has nothing to do with the BAIO or anybody else. It's just me.
We gotta start playing that disclaimer all the time.
Yeah, I got to.
Represent the views of the BAIO.
Yeah, I gotta do that because
it's so weird that disclaimer appears at the end of all our discussions as opposed to the beginning.
But I feel personally, we already tried it here. It ain't fucking work. We need to get our own goddamn nation. I'm not trying to do shit in America because nothing that we've done in America has seemed to work where we've gained any type of empowerment on a socioeconomic and political level. So my solution is, if we want to solve all of these problems that we've outlined today, we better get our asses into the BAIO, get these professional people connected with each other so we can start forming these curriculums and forming these associations and start building something. That's the only thing that I see. I'm like a horse with the blinders on at this point because I don't want nothing. It's like at this point, what are we really going to do or build here in America unless we get the nation state first?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No.
Because we tried it. We tried everything. Are we going to build an independent school for our kids here in America before we get the nation state? That's not going to happen.
I was going to say, Umar tried.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I don't even think he tried. I mean, because let's be honest.
The more I have this conversation, the more it reminds me of. Oh wait, somebody did ask a question. Holip, how do you influence those Negroes in Africa who don't empower their own? And I have no intentions of influencing them.
Right.
I'll answer that. We build a military and force them, or get them out of our way, or make them bow to us. Simple as that.
That's a young.
There you go.
There you go. That's the Neo I know.
Yep, that's the I'm talking about carpet bombing people and stuff like that.
Hey, I got a question. I got a question in light of that comment. Hey, okay. So where does military science go in the curriculum?
Military science is everywhere.
Yes, I was about to say that.
Because the military is everywhere.
Yep.
If you closely look at the science curriculums of pretty much every predominantly white elitist school, it has something to do with the military. Believe it, the United States military has been the sole proprietor and funder of advanced science in the United States for the past 50 years.
It's the biggest budget outlay. So where in importance, like the BAIO, because we're basically the seedling of Afrikan or whatever the country's going to be. We're the seedling. So we need to discuss this here and now.
Oh, wait. Can I say something first?
Okay.
I want to just keep that thought because I don't want to dismiss the question that Dave asked me. I want to just get into it a little bit more. I think, Dave, we got to have first things first. I'm not interested in going to Africa to try to convince these do-nothing leaders and puppets that they need to take care of their people. We got to take care of ourselves. We're trying to get something for us. And everything else, it has to be a pecking order to this. We're not going to come in and just eat the damn whale with one false. You know what I'm saying?
No,
there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of shit that we have to address on so many levels systemically.
Yes, and
not only here in America.
Let me add to what you're saying, Holip, please.
Okay.
Brothers and sisters, please be patient.
Right.
You got to understand that even having these discussions that we're having is revolutionary.
Yeah.
You cannot, like Neil said earlier, and like Brother Ali said, you cannot go on anywhere on this internet and find anybody having this quality discussion about nation building. Anywhere. You cannot go anywhere. And like my beautiful sister said yesterday, the more we discuss, the more we know we need to discuss.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I remember, and I go back to this, and I'm not using this brother as a scapegoat, but I go back to this many times. Brother got on our case and saying, y'all just talking, I'm tired of talking. And Holip said to me, he said, brother, the problem is we ain't talked enough. And so the thing is that we have a lot of people now with great abilities. We have enough people to go to Africa right now and do something half-cocked. Would y'all agree?
Yep.
Yeah.
We have enough people and resources to go over there and do some bullshit. We do. But the problem is that we don't want to go to Africa and do some bullshit. We want to go over there and do something comprehensive that's going to last. So, like any success book you would read, and I love the fact that my brothers are quoting books because I'm a book reader for sure, and that is that we have to thrash as much as we can in the Genesis period and get the ideas and cross them and disagree with them and argue about them and have you brothers and sisters in the chat room argue about them as much as we can before we make any moves, because once we do, we're moving as one front, having decided something.
Yeah.
And so y'all got to be patient with the discussions that we're having. We're trying to have as many discussions as we possibly can. And you have to understand something. Having a discussion on YouTube is nothing compared to what we have in our private chat room on the Ning site and on our conference calls. If you really want to get to the meat of nationhood, you got to join an organization and be a part of those discussions.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's what I would say to all of y'all. I don't want to discuss military anything on this YouTube.
Yep.
No, I do not either.
No. My question was, where do we put the importance on that? Because like at the heart of Asian culture is the art of war.
Yeah.
And at the heart of European culture is either Viking philosophy or warrior Celtic philosophy or Roman military philosophy. So where does military science go in our philosophy? Where would we put that?
I think it's. I'm gonna answer that. Yes, I want to answer that. It's gonna be it's gonna be front and center with us as well, because we have a history of not conquering people, but we have a history of learning the implications of not defending ourselves. So I think it's going to be very critical with respect to us being as African Americans, of having lived as a people who did not have a military culture. I think we've learned the consequences of not being militant.
We actually have a military group in the BAIO, so I think that answers the question.
Yeah, we do.
We do, but like I said, like Mr. Dawud said, we're not releasing any specifics on that.
Right.
But
wait. Just one thing.
To answer the brother's questions with respect to that, and Holip and I have actually talked about this with respect to this. The military, an established military in our nation, will have a significant eye on pretty much every last scientific sort of study. Everything from bacteria culture in soil to the development of strong nanomaterials. So I would say it's going to be a very intelligent military, and of course, as a new nation, because I like to model this thing after Israel, military service will be compulsory for young people.
No doubt.
Because this is a young nation that needs to be defended, and that's going against the grain of everything. We need to have folks, involved in this. And as a part of your military service and compulsory military service, you're going to be given a very quick and very effective crash course in military science, i.e. how to apply tactics from every vantage point that you can think of, and how to apply what you learn in science or engineering into a military standpoint. Now, I want to actually revert back
Wait, before you ask that question.
All right.
What I wanted to tell people, I want to back up what Minister was saying about how a lot of the things, if you think that what we talk about on the videos is something, last night, or the night, was it last night or the night before? I can't remember.
It was the night before because I missed it.
Night before, we had a conversation in a private conference that lasted from 9:30 p.m. to 3:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So that should give you an indication,
right,
of how deep and in depth we get into these issues. But and another thing is, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. It's stuff like this that prevents civil wars.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take for America when it first started this nation to have a civil war?
About 90-something years.
You know what I'm saying?
99 years, I believe.
You know what I'm saying? So we want to avoid all of that.
Yes.
We want to avoid that. So that's why it's good to have these type of conversations. And like I said, for all of these people who always say, is talk and this and it's all talk and whatever. And I've had discussions with this. I've had discussions with people who think like this. We haven't even begun to talk.
Yep.
Exactly. This is all one big brainstorming operation.
We haven't
in
even
the public
begun.
forum. That's all it is. And,
I mean,
and then
y'all got to remember, y'all have been listening to the Sonetta crew for the last 12 years. You tolerated that bullshit, and now you're getting these high quality discussions. Take your time, y'all. Look around.
2015, y'all.
Yep. Smell
2015. This is 2018. I mean, people is under pressure for us. How long have these motherfuckers been trying to do something right here?
My God.
Because we don't keep you in an emotional loop. We don't keep you on the hamster wheel. I would say this, and I want to touch on what Brother Minister Dawud said about impatience. If you are really impatient about where we're going, and like you're not seeing enough being done, or let's say the quality of discussions, or if you don't think there's enough Alis out there to be tech specialists, or enough brothers and sisters out there learning math, if you're impatient, use some of that jittery, impatient energy. Log off, go on YouTube and learn some math, and develop those skills. This way, you come on discussion, you add to the substance of what we're talking about.
Be proactive.
Be proactive. Add, bring some skills to this thing.
Okay.
I mean, we want you to do it.
Okay. Okay. Let's ask. Let's ask another quick. Let's ask another.
Okay, I was going to say, am I the only person with a microphone and a YouTube account? Be proactive. Be proactive. We're not the only people that have the ability to talk about nationhood. As a matter of fact, I told you, the sisters are now talking about nationhood. I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven.
Yeah. Okay, so what to the point of impatience, what in a base curricular how can we develop the long suffering in our people? Because one thing that we want to see it right now, and we are the millennials. I'm a millennial.
Yep.
So that means we want it right now. So Dr. Amos Wilson had pointed that out once, is that Black people, we lack the long-suffering nature that it would take to actually build a nation. He didn't say it in that context, but just saying that Black people want it right now. How do we develop within our children the long suffering and the patience it's going to take? Because keep in mind, we're sitting here, we are all agreed upon the point that we are ready to shed blood on and fight for a reality that we are never going to experience. We're never going to experience a world where Black people have power, where Black people are the absolute definers of our reality, where Black people are socially and politically conscious, and where Africa is at least somewhat united. We're not going to live in that reality. So how do you prepare another generation for the long suffering and the patience and the persistence?
I want to get his first crack at it though.
Okay. Go at it. That's why.
All right. And believe it or not, I mentioned this before, and I want to study, and I want to do an actual show on this in terms of sort of mental sort of development, sort of a whole new psychological culture, because this is very important. There's a reason Black people in general are not long suffering. And I can like I said, we could do a 2-hour show on this subject by itself. Long story short, how do you change that? You sort of, and it goes back to the children, you have to sort of retrain from a neurological perspective. You have to sort of retrain people how to sort of endure for long suffering. I have the theory that many Black people suffer from ADHD, in the sense that, not that we're stupid or anything, but the type of environment that we grew up in, a certain type of environment that we as a people developed in, sort of predisposed us towards that mental condition for the sake of survival. Now, we have a goal and an ideal.
And that's kind of interesting.
Yes, and we have, now that me as the BAIO presented a goal and an ideal that sort of alleviates us from that situation. However, the present physiological and mental state of our people goes against those achieving that goal, because the skill sets needed to make that goal happen are antithetical to what we have now. So how do we sort of change that mental landscape from being people who have to, react on the quickness and who have to need immediate stimulation right now so that you can sort of survive in the moment, because that's how we were from slavery on in. You were living moment for moment. Any time now you could be snuffed out of existence. And this has been going on for generations. I say, and not to deviate from your point, but we really have to investigate the role that slavery played in sort of developing our, social structure from a neurological standpoint. And I'm going to do a whole show on this, sort of laying this out. But to answer your question sort of succinctly, if it even possible, it has to sort of begin first with the individuals involved with this movement. The solution begins solely with BAIO members. If you are a BAIO member and you have a problem with delayed gratification, i.e., you want to see something happen now, and I understand why you want to see it happen now, because the situation is unbearable.
Right.
Yeah. You have to understand how to overcome that need for delayed, sort of build that strategy, sort of build your tolerance for delayed gratification. You have to understand how to build patience and stuff, because what we're talking about, every time we talk about a nation state, it lights up our prefrontal cortex. We feel great about it because we want to be out of this situation. But right now, for BAIO members, contemporary at this moment, it is more important for us to learn long suffering than it is to sort of, be frustrated by these experiences, because a lot of us have come to the conclusion we may not see this nation in our lifetimes, but we understand the importance of starting this work. Like I say, we're the Theodore Herzls of our day. Theodore Herzl did not see the state of Israel be built. He died before it was built, but he understood the importance of its needs of existence. So we have to get in that, state. And a lot of members got to be honest with ourselves. If you really want to see a black nation state on our own in your lifetime, it can happen, but whether or not it happens depends solely on your ability to contribute and work towards this effort. It's just not us on this. It's just not if it's us on this panel that got to do all the work, you ain't gonna see it in your generation.
Thank you. I don't even have to go. I don't have to even go on now. He said basically what I was gonna say.
Exactly. If it's
I would
us on this,
like to take a stab at it though. Even though that was very comprehensive. That was very comprehensive. Like that's a big time bravo.
Yeah. I never looked into that.
I'm really gonna do a show on that. I'm gonna really do a sort of thing examining how slavery and perpetual trauma has really shaped the neurological architecture of African Americans as a whole, sort of predisposing us to anxiety and sort of this sort of long, short-term thinking existence. I think it's wired into our blood in a sense, and it's something we got to seriously, honestly investigate and answer if we're going to move forward. We can't be put our heads in the sand about this.
Right.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. What I would say is this. And when I was younger, I remember I had got separated from my dad, and then finally I got reunited with my dad. He was living in Jacksonville, Florida, that horrible place. And
yes, I hate the whole entire state of Florida. I don't even want to. I'm just hoping for Hurricane Trayvon to come along and just. Hurricanes. I was the first Category 6 hurricane to hit Florida to be called Hurricane Trayvon.
Isn't that going to be beautiful when we're able to name the hurricanes ourselves?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, get a typhoon class hurricane to hit Florida.
Hurricane Nzinga is coming through next weekend.
Shoot,
exactly.
Hurricane.
But since we're on the STEM show, the hurricane strength is proportional to ocean temperature. So if you had a way of raising the ocean temperature,
oh boy.
But
hey, that's another topic. Weather manipulation. That's another topic. Since so many people want to mention HARP and all that other stuff, why not talk about it? Yeah. We're gonna have STEM shows debunking bad STEM. I mean, everything from the mucus theory of disease to HARP. HARP may not be. I mean, who knows? But I know the mucus theory.
That's my point, bro.
Oh, sorry, brother.
Please, it's okay. And by the way, I hope y'all remember years ago when everybody was burning snow. And they were saying that there was supposed to be some kind of chemical in the snow,
Christ,
fake
man.
snow. So anyway,
Jesus Christ.
I've seen like 2-3 videos of people burning snow on Facebook. So, but anyway,
Burning snow.
Literally, Neil, burning snow, brother. They were saying that it was fake snow coming from the Heartless City, so they was burning it.
So let me say, so you have solid snow. So if it's fake snow that's harmful as a solid, you're gonna turn it into a vapor so you can breathe the harmful stuff. Well, that makes sense.
Wait, you getting way too advanced
exactly.
now.
So you're trying to use your mind to rationalize irrational people. But here's what I would say. I would say, in addition to everything that Neil said, which I agree with and am blown away by the way, my dad, when I was younger, when I reunited with him in that terrible place, Jacksonville, I remember him saying to me, because I joined the Nation of Islam and I thought that was hot stuff, and he was like, all of that stuff is good, but in reality, we need an Israel for niggas.
Yes.
And I was like, well, that's what we building. We building that here, blah, blah, blah. My dad looked away, because my dad is a submarine, ex-military. My dad looked away. He looked back at me. He said, I'm going to say it to you again. What we need is an Israel for niggas. So I would go to service and come home, or I'd go out, sell papers and come home, and I'll tell my dad the exciting people I met and stuff like that, and my dad would be like, oh, that's cool, But I'm telling you, we need an Israel for niggas. And the more I heard that, the more he pounded it into my soul. You know what I'm saying? And so what I think is that, in addition to all that you were saying, Neil, to get black people to be long-suffering is to plant a seed in their heart and continue to reinforce it. Mm-hmm. Continue to reinforce it. And this is one of the reasons why what I love about this organization, the many things, is that we don't restrict and say, unless you use some kind of crazy dude that's talking kill whitey, we allow you to get on YouTube and have a show.
Yep.
Throw your flag up, you know what I'm saying, from your city, and have a show. And we allow you to talk there, and we will support you. So that way, it's so many of us talking about this that it gets into the hearts of the people, and it's not something that's just a fad and it blows away. You know what I'm saying? In organizations where they try to control the leadership or control the message or whatever, these organizations flame out because it's all dependent on that one person's ability to carry the message. But when you have everybody that has, for instance, Fatty Black is in the chat room, wants to come with us now. You know what I'm saying? And none of us have a problem with him joining us. He joined us on the last live stream, but you don't have that kind of thing in no other organization. You don't have that kind of thing. So for me, whether the sisters do a show, Neil, you talking about doing shows, I'm going to do a couple of shows based on some stuff that the reality of it is that you get people to long suffering by keeping the word alive. Keep the word alive. And I don't know if y'all, I'll say this and I'll shut up, but I don't know if y'all remember, I'm a fan of the Terminator movies, and I'm such a fan of the Terminator movies that I watched the terrible ones also. So,
Terminator 3 and up?
Yeah, brother. Oh, my God.
Where Arnold's in a wheelchair.
Terminator Genesis was so bad. Bro, Terminator Genesis was so bad, I fell asleep on it.
That's exactly the one I want to
There are no Terminators after 2, man.
The T5 actually has a walker or something.
Yeah, that's exactly the one I want to talk about. In Terminator 2, the one thing I grabbed from that movie was, in the future, everybody was passing around messages through radio. You are I don't think it was Genesis, it was Resistance. You are a member of the Resistance. So John Connor, once a day, would go on his radio show, and he would broadcast all over the planet. If you're listening to this, damn, somebody is doing something in the background. But
my bad.
It's cool. If you're listening to this, you're a member of the Resistance. And I love that, because that's what we're saying to you in the chat room today. If you're here today, you're a member of the BAIO. And what we want you to do is we want you to carry the message yourself also. And as long as we have as many people as we possibly can carrying that message, it's not going to die, brother. And people are eventually going to, I think people are eventually going to calm down and realize the scope of trying to build your own nation. You know what I'm saying? And not like have 3 or 4 buildings, throw our flag on it, you know what I'm saying, and have them foreclosed on in 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what everybody else does. They throw their flag on 3 or 4 buildings and have them foreclosed in 5 years and say, oh, what happened to so-and-so? Well, and that's not the way it's going to be. For us, you just got to keep repetition. And, you know, as long as it happens, eventually people will have patience. But if we just say, well, we said all we have to say and it dies, that's when people will lose patience, I believe.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So wait. I got a question though. Going back to what was said earlier, how do we, in light of curriculum, how do we not let nationalism become a fad? How do we not let the puff daddies of the world, and you know, how do we not let this get multiculturalized?
Easy. You keep it holy. You keep it straight to the keep it straight within group, and you be very. The trick is to this is be very principled. And the problem, let's be honest, with the problem of past black leadership, they weren't principled.
Right.
Being principled means that you have a set state of rules that you adhere to no matter what. I mean, say what you want about, you know, the alt-right or anything like that. They are very principled.
Yeah.
They are extremely principled, and that's what makes them work.
I agree.
Oh, so I got to get back to the hangout. Oh, where is it? Oh, there it is. Oh, good. That's the purpose of being principled. And then, you know, unprincipled movements will be compromised by unprincipled people. I mean, to think about this, I mean, P. Diddy, I mean, he may benefit from what we do. I mean, he'll have another market we'll create for him. But let's think about it. I mean, you know, there was a reason Mao Zedong was sort of, you know, very successful with the movement he had. There's a reason why the state of Israel became what it was now. It had leadership that was extremely principled. You had people like you had Jewish celebrities and stuff like that. You had your P. Diddy types who, you know, benefited off of the periphery of what was done. But in terms of the core of what kept everything together, those were held by principled people. So I don't think we have that problem with us. And that's another benefit as to why, you know, because I know a lot of people may be impatient. We've talked about this before. But the brilliance about having this, you know, sort of core, strong foundation is that such that when this thing does take off, it's not going to be compromised from the likes of a P. Diddy or so. So establishing this core set, establishing this foundation is the hardest part.
Right.
And that takes work. And what we're doing now, we're having these discussions, having the conference calls and such. We're establishing this core foundation. And that's not something people did not do in the past. I mean, I love him with all my heart. The Honorable Marcus Garvey did not establish a core foundation because he understood the mind of the Negro, but he did not really act in consort with his understanding of the mind of the Negro. He did not, he overestimated the mind of the Negro and underestimated the treachery of the mind of the Negro. And we're not making that same mistake. We are very realistic about what we're getting into. Right. So that's why we're having these kind of brainstorming sessions. So I'm not worried about that. With brothers like us, brothers on the panel, and the sisters like Sister Bell, and otherwise, we're not going to have that problem because we make it such that, the P. Diddy types and the fad types, we let it be known that this is a long-suffering operation. And that is the importance of building a long-suffering building a core group of people who are long-suffering. Because let's be honest, if you're not long-suffering, you're not going to want to be around long-suffering people. But like
let me say this, that and I made this point before. The reason why I don't even think that this is an issue or why we would even be dealing with these things is because the people that's thinking about nationhood are not those people.
Nope.
Exactly.
The people that's thinking about nationhood are the people that we deal with right now on this phone and who we deal with on the BAIO Ning site. So if we use those two as our litmus test for what's going to happen for our nation, I feel pretty confident that we're going to be a principled people, principled nation, and we're not going to be subject, because we don't even do that. We don't have a nation now and we're not doing it.
Right.
We're already setting the table for how we want things to be. There's no talking on the Ning side about religion and all these other side fucking issues. All I see us talking about is everything related to land, infrastructure, and nationhood.
Well, I asked that question.
It's not going to happen because those people ain't even going to be involved.
I asked that question because let's keep it real with each other here, man. Circumstances are going to force Black people to find another way here within the next decade. The 2020s, I think, are going to be a very turbulent time for our people in this country. And circumstances are going to force Black people to have to find another way to live, because I mean we're on the verge of what I perceive to be a genocidal attack on the African American community. Yeah. So in light of that, you're going to have those types of people who, under normal circumstances, they wouldn't be attracted to this because there's no money in it, but because Black people are going to be forced by mere circumstance. I mean, we're complaining about gentrification now, and if you look back, they were talking about that in the 90s even. But now it's overt. Like, I don't know how it is in New York or wherever you guys are. It's bad in New York. In Denver, these white people, they're not, I mean, they're renaming traditionally Black neighborhoods in Denver, you know, just stupid ass names like, you know, Lower Highlands or Low High or River North, Rhino. You know, all these dumbass names, and they're just overt with it. They're coming to take the city, and they're coming to kick you out. You know, and they're pushing all the Black people to all the undesirable places of I wouldn't even say the Denver metro area, kind of outside of Denver, like elevated Kansas, basically. And it's like let me finish. I wonder, because Black people are going to be gravitated towards some kind of escape, because we always have been. You know, where now your physical condition is going to get so bad to where you've got to find another way or you're going to die. And that's why I asked the question, is because you do have hustlers there are hustlers in our people who will try to profit off of Black misery, as they always do. So that's why I asked, how do we protect it from that?
I have a three-pronged answer to that. One is that you have to just come to the conclusion not everybody's going to make it. That's just the way everything is. Yeah. You have I know you feel a great love for our people in with regard, but not all of us are going to make it. Some people, let's just be honest, that's the reality of the world. You talking about the state of Israel, 60% of them had to die in Europe before they took that seriously. This is the reality of the world we're living in. Part two, the hustlers, the good news is for the fake people is that we already know who they are. So we can kind of sort of, but even, let me rewind before that. The second part is, if they gravitate to us, they'll know what our message is, they'll know where we stand because we are principled. So the fact of the matter is, we'll have the sort of center stage. We'll have the bully pulpit with respect to all manners of communication on that regard. And the second part, and the sub part of that, is that all the hustlers and the schemers, we already know who they are. So just like how today they're trying to thinking they have command of the culture, trying to call us out for stuff that we don't do. When it comes time for people to draw to us, and we have the bully pulpit, and they try to come in, we'll have more than enough ammunition to call them out.
Basically, what he's asking is, what is going to be our immigration policy?
Basically, our immigration policy basically will be what it is: Black African Infrastructure Organization. If you are serious about leaving this country, come on in. But understand this, once you get into this organization, we have some sort of stringent rules, and we have sort of stringent policies with regards to, how the way we do things. Our main problem with the BAIO is just going to be enforced and all that. We're going to be probably busy vetting people for the most part. But I think people are going to get serious. And I think what Brother Ali's serious concern is, okay, because America does this all the time. And Collar Genesis actually points to this, how, and I give Brother Collar a lot of credit for a lot of things. The society will change certain things on a dime if they realize certain movements are moving against their best interest. They'll turn up the heat, like they'll turn up the heat on black people when they feel there's no nationalist, so no sort of immune system present. But when that immune system comes up in the form of a nationalist organization like the BAIO or some, then they'll turn the heat back down because they know how complacent a lot of black folks are. And what Brother Ali is alleviating to is sort of the shakiness and the flakiness of generalized black loyalty. And we've discussed this a lot actually in the BIO, I think long before you got here, in terms of how to prepare for this contingency and sort of that sort of happens if, the white, the dominant society sort of lets it off the heat a little, or they put another Barack Obama in office. What'll happen to us after all these people join?
The beautiful part about it, man, is that we control the context of our reality right now, and even on this small level. Like, you can't come into the BAIO with your own agenda. It doesn't happen.
No, you can't. Exactly. And another thing is we got a lot of training. Like I said, we held it through. We've gotten our most principled during the Obama administration. Brother Holip and I talked about this. We talked about, we did about our anniversary. We've been through, the stage where no one was listening to us. So, for example, we have a war plan based on that. I don't know if this is a satisfactory answer for you, but we've been through that before. Like, we were active during the Obama administration when nobody and their mama was talking about Pan-Africanism because America had arrived for them. They remember their stupid T-shirts?
Oh, yeah. We reached the mountaintop. Yeah.
That was hope, man. That's that hope.
Remember those stupid T-shirts where they show Martin Luther King, I had a dream? They show his picture. They show Obama's dream fulfilled. I hated those damn T-shirts with a passion. Anytime I saw somebody wearing that, I just wanted to rip that joint off and burn it. But the BAI, we lived through all that. And but that's where we got we really developed our principled stances during the Obama administration, during the sort of the integrationist golden years during his administration.
Pretty much, yeah.
We were battle tested. If you ever do metallurgy, they have what is called work hardened. That means you've been and flexed the metal to the point where it gets so hard that it's pretty much really hard to break. We were work hardened during the Obama administration. Now with Trump, shit. What? We sharp as ever.
That's the reason why we can detect a Negro with pinpoint accuracy. Yep. If somebody comes into the BAIO on some bullshit, trust me, they don't be there for long.
Exactly. Yep. So, for example, when the Sarnettas and the Tariq Nasheeds and such decided to get on this nationhood thing when they were not on it.
But that's a good example is Tariq Nasheed, man, because, he's more moved to that by circumstance. I don't know if you guys saw that, but there were cops that were called on him, moved in on his house, dog.
Of course.
And he lives in a nice area of California.
Of course.
And he's moved to this by circumstance. So it's like, how do we protect? It's like, I'm not going to say the movement, but for lack of a better word, the seedling of Afrikan. How do we protect it from people like that who, even in the face of white power moving in on you and hurting you, they still won't really have nationalism as a goal? How do we protect it?
And I'm glad you mentioned that. What differentiates us and him is that we have a very serious message for a serious group of people who are willing to listen to it. Everyone listening to this broadcast and everyone on this panel is very serious about nationhood in the sense that we don't think this is a game. If you listen to his broadcast, he has the music playing back and forth, like the beatbox. He's cracking jokes. Nobody hears cracking jokes about, and intentionally cracking jokes. We have a few chuckles down there. But he's cracking jokes. He's making light of the situation.
If I may say so, for Christ's
sake. And he's a misery merchant.
This is the dude that used to do Mac lessons.
Yeah.
What do you really expect?
Yeah.
The art of Mackin', the art of Mackin',
Exactly. The thing is, he's a misery merchant. Let's call it what he is. We're not misery merchants. He is, let's be honest, he's a misery merchant. He's up to Hidden Colors, 5,094 now?
Yeah, seriously. And those are depressing. Those are depressing ass. Like, we're talking about curriculum right now, dude. If you were to go off of those movies trying to establish a
Oh
curriculum,
no! Like, if you
you'd
would have
go in your
listened,
basement and blow your brains out, man.
exactly.
That is a depressing. I can't watch those. I
You
can't
know
watch
what?
those. I'm sorry.
There's some called compassion fatigue. I don't know if there's several TED Talks about it. I read it in several psychology books and things of that sort. You can traumatize a person just by presenting to them traumatizing information.
Truth be
So
told.
yeah, you yourself personally may not know what it's like to have a cop pull you over and put a gun to your face or whatever. You may never experience it. But if you keep listening to media outlets that consistently shows you that information, that says, listen, you're a black man, this black man was pulled over, this, that, and the third, blah, 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 you're going to feel traumatized. And what you're going to have is what is called compassion fatigue. Basically, you'll feel compassionate about that situation. But as the situation progresses and nothing changes, your levels of compassion will sort of drain you. And you'll get to a point where you feel unempathetic to the people whom you were made to feel sympathetic about. Why? Because you've been subconsciously linked to their situation. They're draining you, and as a means of protecting yourself, your mind says, I have to fight against this, i.e., I have to go against whatever is causing me harm, which is in terms of their situation. That's how you go against, that's how you have that when Holip mentioned you got black people who don't even love black coffee no more. That is the result of that, where you traumatize people with information without any recourse to dealing with that trauma in a substantive way. They basically associate the objects of that trauma with being the objects of their personal torment. That's how they go to hate it. That's why we are different in the BAIO. We have different discussions here. Nobody here, and anywhere in this discussion, we discuss anything that's going, all the hell that our people are going through. There's a reason we purposely do not discuss that in these discussions, because one, we don't want to drain the listener's energy. We want to make sure, A, we have the listener's attention, and B, whatever little energy they have from dealing with life and going out in this world outside of these conversations is going to be drained by them. So whatever little energy they have to be able to devote that towards building its people. So there's a reason why we don't discuss certain things, and there's a reason why we discuss certain things. We're very careful with our messaging here.
Right.
Because we keep this stuff in mind. We understand how this stuff works here. I mean, we could talk about white supremacy all day long. We could talk about, I guarantee you, we could go through a litany of an encyclopedia's worth thing of how black people get our ass kicked. But no, we'd rather talk about the black people who are doing something with their lives, who have skills, who have trades, and how we can just, we talk about this beautiful vision we have, and we want to get people excited. I'd rather people be more patient about achieving our vision than be antsy about a negative situation. Real talk.
Yeah. The whole process, everything that we think of, everything that we do, is built around a target audience. This is not going to be this audience that we're targeting is not going to be. It's not going to come from the Israelite or some kind of church extremist church goer or something like that. It's specifically targeted to people that wants to build nationhood. It's not. We're not going to be that attractive to them. As you see, you got some people come on and want to do, okay, all right, I understand that. So when are we going to build this, or when are we going to go here? Nope. Like y'all said, it takes, it's a process, and y'all got to be patient. We can't just go out there and just say, hey, we're going to try to implement something, and we haven't even designed to develop the thing first. We are in the initial stages of analysis.
And another thing, what's great about the BAIO, this is not a dictatorship. If you have a group of people who can actually go to Africa and build a small, sustainable village, and you're BAIO members, go do it. The BAIO will not stop you. That's the one thing we encourage our members to do, whatever they want, as long as it's doesn't deviate from land infrastructure nationhood. If you could build a solar farm and you say, well, why don't the BAIO members, in our chats like this discussion now, why aren't they talking about building solar farms? Brothers and sisters, if you got skills out there to build some and you got the means to build it, go build it.
Well, we don't have the luxury. We don't have the luxury of being like that anymore, man. Because like I said, our circumstances are changed. I really believe the 2020s, man, it's going to be turbulent. I think we're going to see a type of racism that we thought this country had graduated past. I really
I
believe
want to
that,
get the
man.
fuck out of here.
Exactly. Not only that, but you know what? And I understand your concern, brother, but we've been preparing for this. I mean, the BAO members, I mean, there's a reason. I'm like I said, there's a reason Trump, why we call Trump the honorary white BAO member, because he's drawing so many people to us. I mean, he's our biggest recruiter.
And he's gonna win the next presidency. He's gonna win the next election.
Of course he is. There's no doubt about it. He's gonna win by a landslide. The thing is this, from the 2020s, they're gonna be rough, but that gives us
one day, y'all.
That gives us years to prepare. Yes, brother.
Yeah.
One day we got to get, and I'm pretty sure Holip would agree with this. One day we got to get Brother Aton Edwards on one of these shows.
Yes, we do.
Because he can totally like articulate, because that's what he does. He can articulate exactly how bad it's going to get here, as far as that's concerned. And I really think that one of the reasons why we get the pushback that we get with the trivial stuff, that, oh, why don't y'all do this, that, next thing, is because people really think we got a lot of time.
Yep.
So they don't like grasp just how bad it's going to be in the future. They don't.
And the most.
Go ahead,
brother.
Well,
and the most important, because I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
What I was going to say is that what you call it is that in all reality, it's like, whenever something happens, I always, because I'm connected to this dude, and I'm pretty sure some of y'all are on Facebook too, he always says, this is nothing compared to what I've predicted. You know what I'm saying? So when he does that, it's like, you may say, well, damn, I don't want to be that grim, but in reality, that's just the reality that we're facing. So, listen, we could discuss all of the trivial stuff that y'all want to discuss. But the point is that you need to understand that time is running out, and that there has to be something done before you get to the point where you have to, and you're desperate. And that's really, I think, what BAIO is the saving grace of an organization.
If we really want to save our brothers and sisters in America, we need a nation.
Right.
Yep.
So my thing is, if time is running out, then all these I don't mind a person being impatient. Be impatient and be proactive in the BAIO.
Yep.
And we're gonna.
Don't be impatient and then just sit back with your arms and your legs up, expecting somebody else to do something. Right. All hands on deck.
Right.
And I want to do a show on that, showing people skill sets of how to sort of take that nervous and impatient energy and to be proactive about it. Because that's something that, be honest, black folks, we're not. Definitely, the leadership ain't teaching you. They make you proactive. They make you impatient and anxious, and they sort of take your money because you want relief from it.
Right.
No, I'm gonna show you. We're going to show you how to take that impatient, angry energy and take it into studying some math and science and get some skill sets that you can use. But he mentioned Aton Edwards. One other thing I love about Aton Edwards is that he'll tell you how his grim is going to be, but he gives you solutions on how to deal with it on your level.
Right.
He'll tell you that you need to do this, that, and the third to avoid it. Because I met him personally. I spoke to him personally, and that's how the brother is. He's always solution-oriented. He does not present you a problem that he does not have a solution to, or present a solution to, both on the micro and the macro level. And that's something that we BAO members have done very well.
Yes.
Yeah, because I believe, man, this decade coming up, we're going to be in real school, man. And what my fear and my fear is that a lot of our people don't know it. We don't realize it. Is that, we do need to establish a curriculum, and we look at each other crazy when we present the idea to each other, but we're out of time here, man. And we really need to get something going, man. And I think this upcoming decade with who you're going to have in office, and I don't know. I know the East Coast is real racist and stuff, but in Colorado, you got to understand white people are the majority here. So they show their ass in Denver. So I mean, it's just become a situation where we have no other option besides nationhood, because if you're going to stay in Colorado where white people are the majority and looking at the Latinos, I don't know how the Puerto Ricans are acting, but the Mexicans out here, I mean, they showing their ass, man. I mean, they're really showing their racist attitudes towards us, man. And the Latinos have just really I'm not going to say turned on us. I don't think they've ever really been on our side, but
they show their true colors.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, we're out of options, man. This multicultural shit, we better let this shit go because we're out of options.
All right, I'm gonna mention that, brother. I want to stress something to you, very importantly, and I know it because you're fairly new to the BAIO, right?
Brother, yes, sir.
You're fairly new. All right. I know a new person because all of us felt this way when we came in because we were like, the sky is falling, Chicken Little kind of stuff. There's several things you gotta. Trust me. Listen. I came in during the Obama years, so you thought it was bad. Believe it or not, this dude in office is the best thing for us as an organization. You gotta know how to play this dude. Those Latinos showing their ass. Understand that this dude in office, for once, what I say I love about this president is that he's taking the heat off of us and in some way putting it on them. So one thing you should do as a black nationalist is one, not get involved in any political stuff with respect to Dotta or any kind of, Latino pro crap because they showing us who they are. That's one. Two, you're a brother with skills, particularly in the IT skills. It's safe to say that you individually are probably more equipped to pack up your stuff and move to Africa than anyone else if you really wanted to, in the sense that they need IT professionals over there. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to leave as an individual, you can do that. And a lot of brothers and sisters are doing that, repatriating over there sort of to create a new life for themselves. And that's something, another element I want to bring to the BAIO is sort of BAIO members who are currently expatriates in Africa, who live in African nations but still want to see a Black American nation established. That was another part of the Jewish diaspora that Theodore Herzl addressed to. That's two. Three, and I know this, and they say this a lot, but it's true. We are a very resilient people. We survived the worst hell more than any other people. We survived worse shit than this, and we will survive worse shit than this.
Yeah,
in the sense of that.
If you look at it though, man, it seems like every ethnic group is uniting against us in some way, and that's what I'm afraid of.
I mean, well, that's always been the case. Think about this way. This goes back to nature in general. The weakest animal is always picked on, no matter by what. When Holip and I always discussed the situation of Black America, we looked at the whole world as a big, giant high school, and you go to the lunchroom. You see the different groups of people sitting at different tables, and you have the ugly kid that sits at a table that everybody picks on because he's overweight, but that's the black kid. But you have a group like the BAIO comes on and tells the ugly kid, tells everybody else go. Meanwhile, the ugly kid is the biggest kid, but he's insecure. You have a group like the BAIO who comes along and says, pick your shit up and do yourself and tell everybody go fuck yourself, and we move on, and how everybody will change. You have to understand this from the perspective of where we are as a group, i.e. the BAIO, and versus where our people are as sort of a collective. I understand where you are personally in the sense that you want to be a part of a big macro group that is winning. Mm-hmm. And your frustration comes from the fact that you are not a part of that group now. Your ideal situation is that if within the next 2 years, if we could turn Black America, get our minds right where the Latinos are, then we'll be where we are. The problem is that's not happening in reality. Black people have been like that forever. The thing is, why I always appreciate it, because you gotta understand, small groups of people making very power moves can change a lot of stuff. And that's what the BAIO is. As far as we're concerned, the BAIO is the real Black community in America and elsewhere. So if we strengthen this group and give this small group power, we can utilize and leverage that power to move the macro group. So that's why every time you talk about this, Holip or Dawud would say to you, get involved. If you're impatient and you're anxious, turn that impatient, anxious energy into something that could sort of grant you some power so that you can leverage against the rest. As far as we're concerned, members of the BAIO are concerned, the rest of the black community, in a sense, is something that has to be moved like cattle, so to speak, because we're the only ones awake in all this. Like, remember with the Matrix? Remember that scene from the Matrix when Morpheus tells Neo, most of the people in this thing have been so ingrained in this thing that they become a part of it, and they will fight to keep it going. You have to think in that term. And yes, the situation is grim, but think about this: you feel bad now. You should have joined like 10 years ago when the integrationist president was in office. I mean, it was hard.
I could imagine.
It was really bad then. It was hard. It was the worst it was back then. Like, this is a case, like, the reason why, myself, Holip and Dawud and all the Ikala and all the other ones, we're so lax about this because we've been through worse. Like, we prepared for this. I mean, we saw this coming. But because, and you'll get to it, you'll get that in time. Once you deal with this, go further on, and you see this crap for what it is, you'll be like, oh, that's what they were talking about. But it's going to come with time. It's going to come with time, trust me. Hold up, you want to speak on that? Is he there?
I'm here.
Yeah. I'm assuring the brother because he.
Yeah.
Yo,
go ahead, Holip.
There's really nothing to add to what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think you killing it. There's nothing to add to what you're saying.
I know what it feels like because he's new to this. He's like, oh, because he's he's just figuring out. Like, I feel bad you living in Denver, by the way. But because in New York you'll find some like minds. You at least find somewhere to go and stuff. Denver is like sort of like that. I mean, we got one sister living in Alaska. I mean, Jesus.
Actually, to be honest with you, I was more worried during the Obama years than I am now. Now I'm actually pretty inspired by and positive about everything that's going on now, because we actually have more people joining, more people are getting it, what this is all about. We're not fighting at least as much as we did, because before it was like fucking WWE, man.
Elaborate on that more, Holip, if you don't mind.
What do you mean?
Like, why do you feel more comfortable now? Because I think we're in for some dark days here.
Oh, I can speak to that.
Who?
Black people.
Oh, okay.
I know there's
maybe
not a we.
Maybe that's what the problem is that I don't see any person that's trying to stay here and make America great again and make our president fly, and I don't have an association with those people. The only people that I know of and the only people that I'm referring to is the people that are nationalists and the people that want to get the fuck out of here and establish something of our own. So if you're not down with that, I'm not really spending a whole lot of my mental energy worrying about your plight.
2021 is my date. 2021 is my date.
What happened was this under the Obama era is that Black people believed in this dude, and because of that, that's what was nervous about it. Is because we formed the BAIO and they was telling us we was crazy. They literally would tell us we have a black president. Why y'all talking about that stuff?
Yep.
It's funny you should say that, because like my friends, that they would call me an Uncle Tom because I say, because I predicted one, Donald Trump would win. Right. And two, I said he's going to be the best thing to ever happen to Black America, because finally we're going to have to take off the multicultural goggles and we're going to have to see our situation for what it is. Because now you have an underqualified, overprivileged white man in a position of power, and that's the position. That's the book definition of America. What the so-called founding fathers wanted was that as long as he's white, a white man can rise to any heights. And you've seen that. You saw that with George Bush. What did he say? He was like a D or C student, and he rose to be the president of the United States. But the first Black president of the United States was a fucking Harvard grad. I can't be the president of the United States.
Brother, I really, because I understand your source of your anxiety, and because I was here where you are. You are basically seeing it to the point of you starting where I started. You love your people so much that you don't want anything to happen to them, in the sense that we're going to be, trounced by everybody. and things of that sort.
Right.
You have to love,
Yeah.
but you have to understand. You got to believe in your people. You got to understand and know your people. And what our fault is that I have not communicated to you that I know our people very well. One thing I did tell Holip this, and this is why Holip, Minister Dawud, and Kala, and all of us who've been at this for over a decade are so calm right now. We know our people. If and when they see us, members of the BAIO or otherwise, pull something off that shows that we're winning and shows that we're competent, one thing black people do is when they see something that can win, they latch onto it. That was the only thing I got out of the Obama presidency in terms of how one of the main myths we have as black people is that we can't work together, we can't spy another. That's bullshit. Black people will work.
That's bullshit. Yeah.
Black people will work and aspire to something that they believe in and that can win. Man, think about it. Black people didn't start believing in Obama until he beat Hillary in the primary. Let's be honest. And when we saw black folks get organized, get excited about him, was because they believed that he can win. We can generate that same kind of excitement with us by showing that we can build something that is of comparable and of equal value to what the whites and any other nation that people can build on our own continent. I mean, all of this stuff plays a part, whether it be Hidden Colors 95, for example, when they had that come out. I mean, we get this, even if we get a self-sustained settlement in Africa built that has the same amenities that any nation in the world has in terms of infrastructure, clean water, clean air, everything. If we get something if we build a Black Wall Street on Africa as a proof of concept, I guarantee you that will get a lot of black folks excited about what we're doing. That is why we are. Huh?
Oh no, I was about to say, aren't you worried that a lot of Black Americans are here? They're not going to be moved to something like this outside of circumstance. I want to ask everybody. I want everybody's opinion on this. How bad do you think things will have to get before that consciousness will finally take hold? And I'm gonna go on mute, and I want to hear everybody's answer.
I'm gonna answer yours first. I've been talking the most. I've been talking directly to you because I know where you are. I'm not worried about it because when you love your people and you spend as much time studying your people, you go to understand your people. What you have to understand the difference between the BAIO and everybody else is that we understand how black people work and we move according to our understanding of how they work. We understand they are people who are revolutionaries who will go the extra mile and to go outside the box to make things happen. And that makes up the BAIO inner circle in terms of people having these discussions. You have your contemporary black people who just go with the flow, who know something's wrong, but, keep their head down because they got a family to feed and they just want to, just stay out of fire because that's their survival instinct. That is your average black person. That's like 90 to 80% of black people in the country. And then you have your 20% who are just flat out coons. We don't want to deal with them. We are that small minority who sort of want to get something going on because we understand about the 70, 80% is that when you show them that they got something viable, and if you keep them, they don't mind change as long as you keep them in their comfort zone. That's why the BAIO has been successful because we're not compromising anybody's comfort zones. That's why we make land infrastructure, the big I, a big part of it. Why? Because they're used to a certain infrastructure and the benefits that comes from that infrastructure. We're telling them we're not getting that infrastructure. You're not going to give up that infrastructure to live with us. That infrastructure includes economic and physical. The physical infrastructure, i.e. the lights come on whenever you flip the switch, the water runs whenever you turn the faucet, and it's clean water, and you will have, your civil service job that pays you long after you retire, and you don't have to worry about nothing no more. Only difference is that's going to be under a black nation. Your coons, of course, those are your Captain American Negroes and such. We don't care for them. But the most important people are the people having this discussion now. Those are the people who are going to make it happen. And that 80% and then 70% is not really going to start being on board with you until they see consecutive wins from the small percentage that we are. So that's why we focus our energies on building our energies in this group, because we know that we're not going to get that ball rolling with the larger group until we start rolling ourselves. And that's my piece. Anybody else? Oh wow.
I'm here.
Oh, I wonder if anybody
Everybody's
else.
on mute. They just muting out their background noise.
Okay, well I'm done
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody pretty much knows where I'm coming from.
Yep. But
If we really, really, really want to do something for our people in America, we have to establish this independent nation state on the continent. And
exactly.
we need proactive people to come into and I will say that there's a lot of proactive people in the BAIO. A lot of dudes doing. There's a guy who came in and basically made out the whole infrastructure for an intelligence community.
Yep.
You know, you had Dotta in the first show give like the process
Mm-hmm.
building. You know, you have people that are impatient, but using that impatience to be proactive instead of using impatience to bitch and moan. Because as far as I'm concerned, and I really, you know, I think this is why it's good that we have a lot of different people because, like I always say about Minister, he's like who I want to be when I grow up because he's more diplomatic and more patient than me.
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where I'm really impatient. I'm impatient because I know how long we've been like this. Oh, that's what I want to address, the long suffering thing. I totally disagree that we're not long suffering. We suffer for a long fucking time.
Yeah.
What we have a short patience with is actually being successful. But we suffer long. How long have we been in this country? How long have we been dealing with the bullshit that we've been? How long we been getting our asses kicked on a daily basis? We suffer for a long time. Suffering is one of the things. As a matter of fact, that was one of the things when I was growing up that prevented me from being a Christian. That term, long suffering, in the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I said, wait a minute, long suffering. There ain't nobody suffering long but us. Why is that a virtue? I love impatient people.
Yes.
I really do. I love people that's impatient. I love people that's anal, who are really like picky. I love that because what they want is perfection. They say, I want this thing to be done a certain way, and I'm not going to be satisfied until it's done the way that I want it to be done. And if
I
we have
agree.
more people that's impatient and more people that really are fed up with America, then the BAIO should be getting memberships in droves.
But that's my worry, though. It's like
but
what has to happen before we are at that level, though? Before Black people really do develop the consciousness that, hey, this isn't going to work. What has to happen? I fear that.
You want my honest answer?
Mm-hmm.
Don't care.
Yeah.
I honestly, sincerely don't care. The only thing I care about is people that have the ability to see that nationhood is the answer and be an active participant in making that shit happen. Anybody else, you stay here and you deal with the ass kickings that you've been dealing with and the ass kickings to come. Because you only have a certain amount of energy in this world. I would rather direct my energy toward the nationhood thing, and somebody else can dedicate their energy to the American Negroes who ain't got it yet.
And I just want to touch on that. I want to talk to Brother Ali again. I guarantee, because you're new to the BL and it's weird to hear Holip talk like that. I guarantee you, after you start talking to enough people about this, because I know we know like we can map out how you're gonna feel in the next 2 years, because we've all been. It seems weird that we're talking about this and we seem so calm and we seem apathetic, but we're not, because we see the situation as it is.
Get it. No, I get it. It's just you know, you want. I mean, because as far as this country, we got nothing coming.
No.
But you know, it's just we do have families here and people we care about, and it's just like, what has to happen for these people to see this country for what it is?
It's happening now. Why do you think we're so excited about 45? It's happening. I don't know. Can you not? The night he was elected, I called both Holip and I called personally both Kala. And when I called Kala was like, "Who's this?" I was like, "It's Neil." He said, "Oh my goodness." goodness, how you doing? I was like, Carla, I'm so excited about tonight. This dude is the man. And we were excited. Why? Because we knew that you couldn't. I really think you underestimate how bad the Obama years were for us. We knew that it was going to. That we were going to get.
No, I don't. Trust me. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Because we knew after that point that he was going to ratchet up the pressure, the heat so bad that, like, you know, it's like an animal inside of an oven. He's going to want to jump out. He's going to ratchet this thing up so bad that people were going to seriously think about leaving America. Guess what? On the day of his inauguration, we literally looked at it like more black people got serious, and I mean serious, about going to Africa now more than ever.
And then you tie that in with the fact that the Black Panther came out and you got to see a black nation.
What? I mean,
everything is coming together like a perfect storm.
Exactly. And I mean, his election and that movie was like such a bellwether for the BAIO. That's when we got really our greatest influx of people. I don't know. When did Belle join the BAIO? She'll probably tell us when she joined, but, you know, that's when we got so much activity and stuff done. And, you know, the thing is, and I always stress to brothers like you who feel the way you do about, you know, how about you love your people, you don't want to see them suffer, you don't want to see them lose. That's the main thing. You don't want to see them lose. About being a part of a situation where you're just a part of a small contingent of people that want to see change. Do not underestimate that, because Kala will tell you this, because we should have him on another show, by the way, because he has to reiterate this point. He studied Asian cultures and how they moved from where they were to they are now, from studying Singapore to China. Modern China began, not with Mao Zedong actually, but by a writer. The culture that changed Chinese culture was a writer named Lu Sun or whatever, because Kala posted it about, and he told about, he was just one guy. And what happened was, and there's a reason Kala posted this, he wrote about how these British officers were executing a Chinese national and the Chinese people around them were laughing. And he brought to their mind was, why are you laughing? Where's your pride? Mind you, this was one man. And at this time, China was dominated by Britain for hundreds of years. It was just that train of thought, that tongue-in-cheek kind of reference to national pride that would literally got the ball rolling to what Mao Zedong would become to what China is today. Do not underestimate the power of these type of conversations. And we understand them because we understand the roles that these conversations have in terms of motivating people, even if the major society at large is not ready for them.
I can tell you this. The reason, all the things that you're talking about is the reason why the BAIO is in existence in the first place.
Yep.
If not for everything that's going on in America, there would be no BAIO.
Nope.
So it's actually a positive thing. It's the silver lining in the cloud. You know what I'm saying? Like all the crap that's going on, and me and Minister have touched. Every time some disaster happens, we touch on it and make a show about it and let people know. Did we not tell you the importance of infrastructure? Now you're looking at Flint, Michigan, and you're begging the people to help you with the infrastructure when we were saying all along how you should have an infrastructure of your own. So all we're doing is using these events and trying to make a positive out of them, letting people see that. Do you see what we're talking about? And a lot of people have seen it.
And all the while exposing the ineptitude of the current quote-unquote leadership.
Right.
Because believe it or not, and I know Minister's on this, Louis Farrakhan could have fixed that Flint situation in 1 year's worth of drives just amongst his damn members alone.
I think
all he had to say is that all Nation of Islam members give $100 a month to fixing this, and they would have had the money to fix that.
Or how about the established black leadership, whoever that is? We have all of these African Americans here in America, and not one person has decided maybe we should try to pool our resources together.
But you want to hear
nobody?
You want to hear something very interesting about quote unquote established black leadership? I think the vast majority, especially young people, have woken up to them, and that's where we as groups like the BAIO was very important in terms of exposing them. they have pretty much lost credibility. I think they've lost credibility at the mainstream. I mean, think about it.
Of course.
Do you find it strange that the only people who give Al Sharpton a platform is MSNBC? No black people listen to him anymore. Jesse Jackson was chased out of a city by black people. So there's a shift in tide in terms of they're tired of the same old, the same visionless crap where we got to deal with the same stuff. People at this point are fatigued with respect to blackness in terms of black leadership to the point where they don't want black coffee. Right now, they're at a phase where they're just, okay, we want to break from it all, but they're going to get to a phase where they're going to say, okay, we need to revisit this, and we're going to need new ideas. And I think that's where the BAIO comes into place because we're setting up ourselves for really our new presentation to the black community.
And to make yourself less stressed out, deal with people of like mind. That's what I do.
Exactly. That's what we do.
I am not going to lose my mind dealing with Nick. First of all, these Negroes, when you talk to them and you talk about the concept of nationhood, you got to fight them tooth and nail just to even listen to what you're saying. So
exactly.
on top of that, I'm going to take your burdens and put them on my back to stress me out. Fuck you.
Right.
And I'm dead serious. I don't give a shit. Only people I'm concerned about right now is the people that can see what the problem is and try to actively work towards solving it. If you're not doing that, I personally, Holip, have no fucking time for it.
Yeah, because that's a lot of money.
Now keep in mind, if there's people within the BAIO who are more patient than me, more understanding and loving than me, then knock yourself out because you got a plenty of people to help here in America. But for me, Holip, I don't give a shit.
I mean, for me, because I have the income and the resources to where I can move. I mean, my worry is obviously for my family, my brothers, because and my cousins who are intelligent people, they're educated people, but I'm kind of the weirdo of the family now. They say I'm on some black shit.
Brother, can I give you some?
Hold on, because like I said, I mentioned to my cousin who she has her master's in psychology. Man, she's a very bright girl, and she could be of a benefit to the BAIO. So I was like, this is naturally a person who I can, disseminate this information to, and she'll take to it. And she looked at me like I was stupid, and my brother, one of my brothers won't even talk to me right now because I offended his wife, a white woman, and saying that, hey man, what's wrong with black people having our own country? If white people were really our friends, they would support that. And she took offense to that. So, it's like my concern was like, God, there's going to be so many people that just don't seem to get it. And it's like, I know my goal shouldn't be to try to convince them of anything, but at the same time, it's like, God damn, what's going to happen in this country before we really get it, before black people really get it,
I'd like to say something to you. You said you could leave. Like, if you wanted to go, and I'm going to ask you this. If you wanted to go to Africa tomorrow, if you wanted to pick up and go to Africa and live a comfortable life there based on your skills, could you do it?
Yeah.
All right, here's my suggestion to you. Ready? Save up some money and do it. You know why? Because you live in an era where communication is very easy. You can communicate with your family via social media. Not only that, but you communicate through video. If you could show them that you're living in Africa much better than they are living in America, that would be far more powerful and influence than you talking to them. And another thing I wanted to mention was like when you mentioned your brother not talking to you, and Hope and I spoke on the issue of interracial relationships and all, but I'm starting to change my feel in a sense because a lot of BAIO members, especially the sisters who mentioned the thing about interracial relationships, that kind of sort of raised a point with me. I'm like, because you offended if his wife is offended by the idea of nationhood and is going to draw him away, I don't think he's ready for it. I mean, he's given up the idea of nationhood for his wife. And you have to ask yourself, okay, I know you love your brother and all, but you know, at the end of the day, you got to look out for yourself. Trust me, if I had the skills you had and that I can get up and go tomorrow out of Africa, if Holip and I, any of us had the skills you had, you think we'll be having this discussion here in America? Holip will probably be in Zimbabwe. So, no, Holip, he'll probably be in Rwanda somewhere. I'll be in another country. Trust me, none of us would be here if we didn't have to be here. So I would say anybody who got skills or whatever can get out of America and go to Africa, and they can get up and go. That's what I say to you.
That's the thing, though. I don't think staying here is going to be an option any longer because we're really up against time, man. Because I mean, it's lit. I mean, you got white people right now. There's a gun club right down the street from my apartment, and it was rumored at night. They did like an expose on it where at night they train white children to go into neighborhoods and shoot people. Yeah, that's why the conversation on curriculum, I think this is very important because you got places that are training their kids to go into neighborhoods and shoot up black people.
Yet another reason.
Yeah. But the problem is our people don't see that.
Well, that's their problem. I'm honestly.
See, this is why, like, yo, are y'all forgetting this? Are y'all forgetting my 3 questions? Y'all forgetting my 3 questions. What are my 3 questions? Who the fuck is we?
Exactly.
True.
And I'm gonna say that, and I mean, I had to revert to old Neo at that point. But there's only but so much stressing yourself out of people who don't care that you can do.
Exactly. Trust me, I'm an
it.
expert at it, man. I used to carry the whole weight of the black world on my shoulders, and I learned to let that shit go.
Because you ain't gonna help them, and you ain't gonna help yourself.
I'll be in the grave, and they'll still be partying on.
Exactly. That's why I gave you the advice I gave you, brother. And I'm gonna do it. And you know what? And I want to include another a BAIO group of black expatriates. Because we have brothers and sisters on the continent now, but I want to see the brothers and sisters who are BAIO members who have actually made the move. And honestly, brother, with your skill sets and based on what Africa needs, I think that'll be a better move for you. Save up some cash, especially. I don't know if you're going on the.
I'm going on the Rwanda trip, but yeah, I've been saving cash. I've been saving cash, man. Like I said. And I hate to reiterate it so much, man. Denver's a white city, and you really see kind of the ass.
All right, brother. Once I'll put it to you this way: once you get to Kigali and we get to Rwanda, you're not going to be having this discussion with yourself anymore.
Okay.
Your discussion will go from, oh my God, what do we do about black people in America, to after that trip to, oh my God, how the fuck do I get my shit together so I can get the fuck up out of here? I guarantee it's going to change. There's a reason we're doing that. What's up?
Oh, no. Go ahead. I'm listening.
And I'm telling you this because the thing is, I'm getting the feedback. Oh, let me see. All right. What I was telling you is that the goal is to get this thing on because we want to get a project started on the continent. And the way to do that is to get people over there. And if you have transferable skills, like where I work, I'm stuck in America because I got to make a living here. That's why I'm learning new skills on my spare time so I can get out of here. But being that you have the skills that you have in IT, and they're going to need it there, and when we get there, we're going to ask those questions about, okay, what is your IT infrastructure like, this, that, and the third? Well, how can I help? And you'll find out you may have more opportunities over there. And whatever, and you got to also analyze, like, what is it that's keeping you here? If it's your family, brother, it may sound, but you can't sacrifice your life for your family. I know, guarantee, if I had the opportunity to leave America for Africa today, I would do so. I'm gonna love your family and keep it moving.
Yeah, because and that's my tie to America is my family.
There you go.
They're here and I'm here. And America's all I know. Like for all we're talking about, I don't know anything about Africa other than what I've read, and other than that, like going to Rwanda, that'll be a further extension. But it makes sense to move to Africa, and it makes sense to establish something on the continent because we can't stay here. America, I mean, put aside what white people think they want to do to us. I mean, put aside that, this
they don't even know what they want to do to each other. They don't even know what they want to do with each other. And I honestly do not care. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't care about the future of America. I really don't.
Yeah, this country's in terrible condition, though. It's in terrible condition. I don't know how long it's going to stand, and people need to realize that. So that's why I'm leaving, because this country's slated to fall, man. So,
hey, Ali. Hey, you know, the question that you're asking is like an old age question for Black people here in America anyway. I mean, you got to think about it. You think that you was just the first person worried about their family and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think I was the first person.
No, so listen, no, what I'm trying to get is like there was times that people had to leave because look, I'm not going to try to convince you that you are a slave and you need to get out of here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like right now we know the things that's going on. We know what we need to actually free ourselves from these kind of act or things that's going on with us, but some people are hesitant to move because they have ties to this place here. But other people are like, you know what? They like, fuck it, I'm gone. And that's in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I got a timeline. I'm working with actual people that actually is on the same page. They have a timeline and we're going to move forward with it. So it's not like a question like, hey, you know what? When that time comes for me to go, I'm not going to be hesitant like, well, you know, my sister didn't want to come, so I'm gonna stay here. But you know, I'm like I'm be on WhatsApp, like, yo, what's up? I'm here in Africa. How y'all doing?
Yep.
That's me. I'm over here training this guy how to do this. I'm over here working with this firm over here doing this. I'm over here doing surveying with Ali, hopefully.
You know what?
If you don't change your mind.
You know what I can see?
No.
You know what I see Brother Ali after the Rwanda trip? I see him doing, and I can honestly see you doing videos, compare and contrast. You put up some bullshit going on in America, and you slip right to your life in Africa. You sitting up chilling, not worrying about shit that blacks in America are, and that's gonna have a greater impact on blacks in America than you trying to scream out the top of your lungs to them while here that you should leave. Because the fact of the matter is, if you scream that they should leave and you're still here, they're gonna ask the question, well, why the hell ain't you leave yet? But if you show them compare and contrast, if you doing, you know, you sitting on your balcony overlooking the hills of like over the hills of Rwanda, just chilling back in your 5-bedroom house or whatever, you know, with your beautiful African wife and shit, chilling, you know, the cops are nice to you and shit, you ain't dealing with shit. Meanwhile, you reporting on the news that the latest black dude shot by some white woman who burst in his house for no reason other than the fact she was drunk.
Yeah.
You will have a greater impact than that. Yeah. Trust me, the Rwanda trip's going to have a great impact on you than ever. You're going to think about your skills in a different way. But I'm just telling you, for someone who's left America to visit a non-black country. I went to Costa Rica, and you know the change of energy that you get from America. Hell, leaving New York City is like a change of energy. I mean, so you're gonna feel it. Trust me, when you get there, after we spend that 10 days there, you're gonna know, there's gonna be a lot of clarification in terms of what you want to do there. I mean, because I really want to get the BAIO expat group started, because I'm sure there are a lot of expats out here that, you know, they're expats in Africa who are black Americans who moved to Africa, and I really want to get them into BAIO. I think they're going to be very critical for us, and they're going to be very critical and useful, you know, with respect to, you know, getting our people, you know, serious about going there. But you have to understand this about black Americans. They only see what they believe, what they see. They won't believe you.
Yeah.
You got to understand that. They will not believe that you should seriously go to Africa unless you're talking to them from Africa.
Yo, Ali. So here's how I look at it. You have an advantage, like Neo said, that you have a skill that not a lot of people have, like openly, that's willing to, you know, that's in this kind of movement. You have the opportunity to go to Africa, do your profession, and actually teach someone to do that same profession. You know what I'm saying? You're taking everything with you. You're like a whole package. Like, and this is the whole purpose of the creating the curriculum. You're like, who are your target audience? You know, how do I develop this to make it work for me and the nation? You know what I'm saying? You have that. It's just like me. I'm a heavy equipment operator. I could take my skill over there and actually develop or train people how to operate all kinds of equipment and what certain things mean. So this is the whole purpose of this. Like, we need to know who's willing to actually go out there and take. Like I said, we're not going to see the big, and I say big, the 20, 30 years of that. Down the line, but we're just starting it. So this is like the next generation can benefit. They're supposed to be better than us. You know, like right now we're stagnant. We've been in this stagnation for like, I don't know, for what? They say it was the civil rights saved us. I ain't say saved us, but we was free. But we've been in the stagnation for like 60 years. And we're talking about the same shit in 2018. And like you said, in the Obama era, people who was actually thinking about like moving on stopped and said, "Oh shit, there's a black dude in there. Let's just I'm abandoning this right now because there's hope." And he's selling it. And he sold the shit real good. But at the same time, 2017 came, what happened? Oh man, Donald Trump, what the heck? You got a guy that doesn't even have the educational level that Obama would. That was like a slap in your face saying, you know what? We took your best and ain't nothing happened. Now we're going to take our dumbest and we're going to make sure that you understand like how we operate.
He's the dumbest and a billionaire at that. That's the way. But I'm going to ask Holip a question. Holip, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Holip, I want to ask you a question. This is kind of for entertainment purpose, but it has a real function. If you were in Ali's position, you had a skill that you could take to Africa right now and make a great living off of, would you still be in America?
Not at all.
Exactly. Ali, we're going to get you to that point.
Not at all. I'd be going in a fucking heartbeat.
No, I'm there. I'm there right now, man. I mean, like I said, I just, with family, it is because the thought of my mom, and she thinks I'm crazy.
There you go.
The thought of my mom staying here, and I'm not going to say the purges are going to break out or anything, nothing like that, but just the national sentiment of the attitude towards us, man, towards being here. I mean, you look at, I go to work every day. I get dirty ass looks from East Indians, just blacker than me,
send them dirty looks back. That's what I do. What?
And I'm just like,
some Asians send me some dirty looks. I send them that shit right back. You need to live in New York. You need to learn how to give a mean mug.
No. It's just the national sentiment towards us. It's just
who cares? Brother.
Well, we have to care though, because it seems like everybody, even the Latinos,
brother, we've been dealing with that since we got here. We've been dealing with that.
Not as overtly though. This seems weird. This seems really weird.
I mean, listen to this. The reason the BAIO exists is because we deal with shit like that. The difference between us and the BAIO and everyone else is that us and the BAIO does not want to be friends with the motherfuckers who are looking at us that way. We want to get away from them and get our own shit and say, fuck you. Like Holip said. That is the difference. I mean,
that's true. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And for all those motherfuckers who want to be friends with them, we're saying fuck you too because you're dangerous. That's it. And the thing is, you're not going to convince these people who don't have the sense of self-respect that you have to have it. You got to develop that on your own. Yeah. And that's why we're telling you, take your skills, go to the motherland where shit is popping and growing, and go over there. I guarantee you, once, I keep saying this, after the Rwanda trip, it's going to solidify things in you because you're going to know what it's like to be in a black nation full of black people who think like you, who think similar to you, and you won't have to deal with that shit. There's a reason we're having that trip.
I agree.
And also, Bell said get some sleep.
Yeah, do get some sleep. In fact, I gotta get some sleep because I gotta go to work tonight. But I mean,
we don't want you getting no Alzheimer's on us. So Get you
No,
some.
that's just my concern. Is just there is a growing sentiment that's un-African and it's anti-African, and it's real concerning. The fact that some white woman can walk up in my apartment and because she'll say she thinks it's hers, blow my brains out right here, and get off scot free.
Well, you need to get your, if you worried, like I said, brother, if you really worried about that, get yourself a Rottweiler and a gun. That'll handle all that shit.
Dude,
Get yourself a Rottweiler. They're wonderful dogs. They're very protective. They're loyal. Just know that they're very active, and you got to take them for walks every day. But but in closing, because I got to get ready to get some sleep, so I got to go to work because I got to pay for these Rwanda trips. In closing, I really did appreciate this conversation, with respect to learning and stuff, because I think everything we discussed here was very pertinent and very important in respect to everything that everyone is on everybody's mind, the importance of disseminating knowledge down. Even what you was expressing with your concerns as of recent and how we told you to bring those concerns to Africa. I mean, it's amazing how the discussion started off with how we teach stuff in America. It started as, we were Captain American Negroes in the sense of how we deal with BAOs and the members in America to basically how you disseminate skills to people in Africa. So I think that was very, wonderful that the spirit of this organization still managed to permeate through this discussion with that regard. But for you, brother, I would say for everybody else, do get some sleep. One of the things we do stress our members to do is not concern or worry ourselves about shit that we really don't control. That's another thing I'm gonna do. I gotta do so many broadcasts on my own. I'm gonna do one on stoicism as well because we need to be more stoic with a lot of shit, especially if we're doing this kind of work. We just can't be flurried by our emotions, and we can't be just blown in the winds of change all the time. Every time something happens, so that's something we're gonna do. But I look forward to seeing you in Rwanda, and I guarantee you, once you get over there, once you get out this damn country, not only out this country, but to an African nation and an African nation that's building itself and functional, your whole perspective is going to change. I mean, you pretty much, when you get back, I guarantee you, you're going to tell your family deuces. I guarantee you. You're going to be like, deuces, love your mom, love your pa, love your bro, sister-in-law. You can tell your sister-in-law to go fuck herself. Get you a nice, beautiful Rwandan woman, and get yourself a nice house and stuff, and just broadcast your shit from us, and we'll all be jealous of you. But there's a reason why the BAO is just the way we do. And like I said, there's a lot of experience talking on from the end of these microphones from Holip and I. We were where you were. We were all just like racking our brains out about the situation. We were all pissed off. Oh, the Chinese, the Latinos, all these other motherfuckers talking shit about us. And you get to a point of maturity, you be like, fuck them too. We know we're tough. And that's the thing I love about Trump. He distributes the shit to them too, and I love it.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I love. One thing I love is if our enemies fight each other, that's good for us. That's how you're gonna look at it.
That is, yes. I agree. I agree.
But in that, I give you closing because I gotta get some sleep because I gotta go to work. And trust me, I'm not losing any sleep over, Captain American Negroes or trust me.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
All right, y'all. I guess we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, also,
Nice
I will post the Addy process for those that actually want to look at the process of how to actually develop training in their profession. And if anybody have any questions, I am a developer for the Army, so I know you can ask me any questions they want. So I'll post that in there.
Where you gonna post it?
I posted on the main. I posted on the main site, and then I posted on the Facebook one too.
Okay, sounds good. All right,
but
fellas.
I might have to send it. Sorry, I might have to send it to you because my I can't even post a lot of stuff. I mean, as far as pictures, so I'll send it to you and let you post it.
Oh, speaking of which, Ali, did you upload that thing I sent you?
It should be.
Okay, cool.
It should be. I should be on there. Looks nice.
Cool. We have a Denver Broncos banner.
All right.
Check it out.
Awesome. But yeah, and everybody, I'd like to know what everybody thinks of the KiwiCo model, and if we have any developers and program writers, because I know very little about programming, but I'd like to get with different academic professionals and see if we can model something after that. It's trykiwico.com. I placed it in the chat a little bit, but yeah, I would like to know what everybody thinks of that model, and if we can build something like that for Black children.
Sounds good. I'm gonna check it out. I saw the link.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah.
Yep, we can definitely do that. All right, y'all. Have a good rest of the day. Peace.
Good Sunday.
Peace.
Have a good week.
Yep.